Good evening, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the Two Mikes here on Talk Sport. It's a big night in the world of global sport, and we are all over it. Andy Murray's fighting his way to the fourth round at Wimbledon. It's not proving too difficult so far. Lewis Hamilton's vowing to race hard but fair against Sebastian Vettel in Austria. He already appears to have been penalised. He's going to be going back 5 spaces on the grid, and the Lions are preparing for the biggest game of their lives against the All Blacks in the morning. Meanwhile, we've got some breaking news for you about Wayne Rooney and his move to Everton. The Porkmeister has been working all day to get the lowdown on what's happening, and he's going to tell us very, very soon. And we want to hear from you on what he has to say. 08717 223344. Coming up later in the show, it's Porky quiz time as well, with the specialist subject being Wimbledon. I'm predicting 3 out of 10. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. It's an unusual time for us to be on, but I'm delighted to say it's time to say a very good evening to Mr. Mike, a Porky, a Parry. Very good evening to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good evening to you, Mike. And you're right, it is a different time, but it's a good time.
It is a good time.
Because I've been talking to people around the world about the Wayne Rooney situation.
Yes.
And as far as I am concerned, and I've been a lifelong Everton fan, Wayne Rooney is an Everton player again.
As of right now?
As of right now.
That's a pretty bold statement to make.
You're going to say to me, have the contracts been signed? I'm going to say to you, no.
Okay.
But the will of the people involved is absolute.
Yes.
And the will of the people is this. Wayne Rooney wants to play for Everton.
Yeah.
Ronald Koeman wants Wayne Rooney to play for Everton in a big, big way.
Which was always one of the question marks, wasn't it? Does Koeman actually want Wayne Rooney? You're telling me that now it's absolutely certain that he does.
Let me tell you this, that in March this year, Mr. Koeman expressed a desire to be interested in Wayne Rooney coming back to Everton, okay?
Right.
Now, the point is that Mr. Koeman has no personal contact with Wayne Rooney.
Right.
His
doesn't
career...
know him at all, really.
Doesn't know him at all. He wanted to find out a bit more about him.
Right.
So he has met Wayne Rooney's camp. He's met Wayne Rooney's people.
Right.
He has, without breaking any laws of football or anything like that, been able to acquire the intent that Wayne Rooney has to go back and play for Everton. And he is absolutely convinced that Wayne Rooney wants to come back to Everton.
Yeah.
Mr. Koeman is now so committed to Wayne Rooney returning to Everton that if the new season started tomorrow, Wayne Rooney would be a starter for Everton.
He's going to start in the Everton team.
If the squad that Mr. Koeman now has at his disposal was available tomorrow for the start of the new season, 2017-18, Wayne Rooney would be in the lineup.
So he's not bringing Wayne Rooney back to Everton for the purposes of having him in the squad, for the purposes of having him as a kind of, experienced head to talk to the young players. He's having him as a starting 11 member of the Everton team.
There is absolutely no sentiment. A load of tosh was published in various publications today saying Wayne Rooney will come back and he'll sell a lot of shirts for Everton. No, he doesn't care about selling shirts. That's nothing to do with it.
Right.
Wayne Rooney will come back and be a squad player. No, that is nothing to do with it.
Right.
Mr. Koeman has told people around Everton and elsewhere in the football world that Wayne Rooney at 31 is one of the top 5 English footballers in this country, if not the top.
Yeah.
And he wants him at Everton because he's going to be a dynamic footballer.
And what job does he expect him to do at Everton, though? Because he hasn't had a great season at Manchester United, you must admit that.
Mr. Koeman can't believe his luck that he's getting Wayne Rooney on the terms they're going to get him.
Yeah.
Now, on the terms, if you ask me what the terms are, can I tell you that meetings between the two camps have never involved, so far, financial terms from either side.
They've never talked about money?
They have not talked about money.
Right.
The one phrase that I got from somebody involved in all this was, well, both sides have got a few bob.
Yeah.
And the last thing they've talked about is money. The intent is that Wayne Rooney wants to play for Everton, undoubtedly wants to play for Everton, and Mr. Koeman sees him as an absolutely tremendous footballer who still has a lot to give for the next 3 years and wants him to play at Everton to make Everton a better and greater team than they were going to be without him.
Does he see him maybe as a captain of Everton?
I don't know about that, and I have no idea. What I do know is that 2 years ago, Wayne Rooney put an Everton shirt back on, right? It was a testimonial for Duncan Ferguson.
Yeah.
Now, Wayne Rooney, for a long time, has been worried about his relationship with Everton fans.
Yeah.
You've got to remember that he grew up in an Everton house, in his house in Croxteth.
Yeah.
There was a number plate in the window which said Everton.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been Everton all his life.
Well, he's been seen going to Everton games at Wembley, hasn't he? Sort of wearing a hoodie and going with the Everton fans. And he's made no secret of the fact that he's always been an Everton fan.
And his kids wear Everton the Everton strip. You know, he's got 3 sons, who's all whose names begin with K, and they've got Everton strips. Now, when he played in that testimonial 2 years ago, he tested the water. Duncan Ferguson is his biggest promoter at Everton because Duncan Ferguson was his mentor when he was there last time.
And Duncan Ferguson's pretty well in with the coals at Everton, isn't he? Or well in with the furniture, you might say.
Duncan Ferguson is a very senior coach at Everton.
Yeah.
And they have bonded together, and the result of that is that Wayne Rooney, in the testimonial 2 years ago for Duncan Ferguson, found the Everton fans warmed to him. In fact, when he ran on, he got a chorus of applause. Now, when Wayne Rooney was a young man and went to Manchester United, he came back to Everton on one occasion. I saw this happen. He scored at Goodison, excuse me, and he slid on the turf and he plucked the Manchester United badge and kissed it.
Yeah.
Now, he had to do that because Manchester United were his employers. They're paying his wages. And he had to make sure that the travelling United fans knew he was no longer an Evertonian. He was a Manchester United player.
Right.
However, he has now gone back and decided it's fine. When Mr. Koeman came back from a meeting in which he had to decide whether or not Wayne Rooney wanted to play for Everton again with a heart and a passion and a desire that every other Everton player would have, he then gathered all his people together and said, Wayne Rooney is coming back to this club. He didn't bother going talking to anybody else. He just gathered all his coaches around.
Now, it's early days in the old sort of transfer market, if you like, right?
Yep.
And we've been hearing for quite a long time, over the past 48 hours certainly, about Lukaku. We may come to that a little bit later on.
Yes.
And about Wayne Rooney as well. Now, we want to hear from Everton fans too, because I want to know whether they are willing to accept Wayne Rooney back, if they believe that he is part of the Everton sort of legend, and will he be welcomed back with open arms. But also they will ask me, I'm sure, you know, how sure are you of this information? Because
I'm certain.
I'm not asking you to reveal your source.
No, I'm certain.
But, I mean, you are very, very sure about this.
I've known, you know, Everton people all my life.
Yeah.
And in fact, funny enough, this is quite good. Wayne Rooney's father is called Wayne Rooney.
Yeah.
And shortly after he left the club, I had a drink with Wayne Rooney Wayne Rooney Senior.
Yeah.
In a pub called the Winslow, just opposite Everton's ground.
Yeah.
It's in the same
You've
street.
mentioned it before, I think, this pub,
It's in Goodison Road.
Yeah.
And he said at the time that, you know, it was a bit unsettling because a few Everton fans had turned against Wayne, called him a traitor and, you know, a bit of graffiti and all that kind of stuff. But you see, it was so difficult in those days because Wayne really loved Everton so much, but he wanted to advance his career. But he didn't want to admit he wanted to leave the club, and Everton, as a football club, didn't want to admit that they...
He was very young then as well, wasn't he?
He was very young. He was 18. That it sold him. So, in fact, it was a bit of a standoff. You know, who initiated the move? Was it Wayne Rooney wanted to get away, and nobody could blame him for doing that? Was it Everton wanted to cash in on a very, very valuable asset?
Yeah.
And both factors came in, and that was true. What's happened now is Wayne Rooney has tested the water. Duncan Ferguson has tested the water. Everton tested the water. But the main factor here is that he's coming back to Everton on nothing but the grounds that he's a fantastic England footballer. There is no sentiment. There is no, back to my roots. You know, there's none of that. I mean, if he was going to any
There must be a bit of that, surely.
No, there's none of that.
Because, I mean, if we were talking about, for example, Chelsea Football Club, that would be a very different kettle of fish.
No.
If we were talking about any other club, if it was Spurs, if it was Manchester City, any other club in the Premier League, other than Everton, of course there's got to be some sentimentality about it.
There's not, there is no sentiment. The fact is that Mr. Koeman will only take a footballer back to Everton if he thinks he's going to be an intrinsic part of the next 3-year plan.
Right.
And at 31, he cannot believe his luck that Rooney's being allowed to leave Manchester United, and he's going to get him before anybody else does.
Right.
He regards Rooney as one of the top 5 English footballers, maybe of the Premiership era.
Well, let's talk to the fans about this.
And look at his record.
Well, I'm looking at his record from last year, and I'm going to bring that up to you in a moment.
Yeah.
But we want to just give out the number, and you may wish to give it out in a more slow version than the one I do.
Yeah.
But the number is this, of course, 08717 223344. If you're an Everton fan, are you happy with the news that Mike Parry is breaking right now, which is that not only is Wayne Rooney coming back to Everton, but he's coming back to start in the team.
Yeah.
He's coming back to play a major role in the first 11.
Yes.
And that means that, therefore, a player who has been more or less rejected by Jose Mourinho is now going to be resurrected, I suppose, by Ronald Koeman.
Yes.
Is it possible? Can he do it? Because look at his record last year.
Yeah.
Appearances 25 in the Premier League, goals 5.
Yeah.
wins 9, losses 4.
Yeah.
A lot of those appearances, of course, were coming on as a substitute.
That's right, yeah.
I mean, he has not had a stellar year, and he's only scored 5 goals in the Premier League in the last season.
Well, all Wayne Rooney's life, his problem has been he's been too enthusiastic a footballer.
Yeah.
And so managers have used him as a striker. They've used him as a number 10. They've used him as a forward midfield player, as a holding midfield player, as a defensive midfield player. Trouble with Wayne Rooney is if he hasn't got the ball, he likes
to go look for it.
He often went running around looking for it, like he did when he was playing for England against Russia.
We've seen him do that for England all the time.
All the time. We've seen him doing that. The point is now that Mr. Koeman, who is, in my view, one of the top 3 coaches in the Premier League, has recognised Wayne Rooney as the fabulous footballer that he is.
Yeah.
If you're only going to look at his track record, people at Everton are saying, how could Manchester United let go a man with a track record like this?
But we hear all the time, don't we, whenever we talk about Wayne Rooney, and we will debate this, and we want your input, of course, out there.
Yeah.
We do hear that he's past his best. A lot of people think that.
He's not.
Would you mind giving out the number? Because we've got to go and check in with the tennis in a moment.
I certainly will. 08717.
Yes.
This is the non-mangled mouth version of the number.
Write it down, please.
08717 22 33 44. To all intents and purposes, Wayne Rooney is an Everton player.
Wayne Rooney is gone more or less to Everton. We will tell you exactly why we know that, because there's even more information coming up. Porky's breaking this news. It's a massive story. This is TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. Coming up a little bit later on, there will be a Porky quiz, of course. We are going to be looking ahead to the Lions game. But right now, the big news is, as broken just 5 minutes ago by Mike Parry, Wayne Rooney is, to all intents and purposes, already an Everton player. And we'll back that up with some more information that I think you're going to provide very, very shortly. Right, we're going to go to the calls at 08717 22 3344. The big story that Wayne Rooney is going back to Everton is going to have different effects on the fans, I think. Let's talk to some fans and see what they have to say about it. Kevin is an Everton fan up in Liverpool. Kevin, very good very good evening to you, I should say.
Yeah, good evening, boys.
Yeah, hi, Kev.
All right, Porky.
Yeah.
We share the same love, and that's Everton Football Club. Now, before I go any further, firstly, welcome back home, Wayne.
Yeah.
I welcome him with open arms.
Yes.
Now, the thing about Wayne Rooney, take the age away from him. 31 isn't 31 in football now, as 20 years ago.
Yeah.
You've got all these nutritionists, dietitians, and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And they've got the staff vest. You've got the numbers. He will only add to Everton Football Club. He won't take away.
That's right.
He can still do things on a football pitch that most players dream about.
That's right.
Now, these people, it's definitely polarised people, Mike. But the thing about it, when Wayne Rooney was 18, at Everton Football Club, he was that good. He was an apprentice to no one.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to learn anything else at Goodison Park. So to spread his wings and get better at the game, he had to play with better people.
Yes. I agree. Kev, I don't know what job you're in, but if somebody says to you, you've got to advance your career, you've got to move on, you've got to go further, anybody should do that.
Right.
That's an obligation to themselves and their families.
That's right.
Now, Kevin, you said there's a bit of there's a bit of debate about it in Everton's sort of in the Everton fan scenario. I mean, have you heard a lot of fans saying they don't want him back?
I've heard a few people saying they don't want him back. You know, this kissing the badge, this, that, and the other. But like Porky said, Man United were paying his wages at the time. But you know the same thing, Mike.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to say Porky and Mr. Graham.
Thank you.
I think it's like. You know these people who were saying, Wayne Rooney coming back to Everton? You know these same people?
Yeah.
If they were sitting in Goodison Park on Derby Day and he blathers the winner in the last minute, will they be sitting on the seat saying, oh, why did we bring him back?
No.
Welcome back, Wayne. I'm made up.
Yeah, Kev, and can I tell you this? He's not coming back as a squad player. He's coming back as part of Mr. Koeman's plan to make Everton a force next season. And Mr. Koeman can't believe his luck. Mr. Koeman met representatives of Wayne Rooney. It was all way above board and all that. And when he suddenly understood the sort of passion with which Wayne Rooney wants to return to Everton Football Club, it was a no-brainer. He was coming back because Koeman's always regarded him over the last 5, 6, 7 years, even when he was back at Southampton, as England's outstanding footballer.
I'm surprised in a way, though. Kevin, thanks very much for kicking us off. We've got loads more calls to take. Let's go to Nick, who's an Everton fan. He may have a slightly different view. But I'm surprised because Koeman's kind of overview, when you've seen him at Southampton and you've seen him in his other managerial jobs, he's not a guy that's often gone to the old sort of retainer, the old guy who's going to lead the team. He seems to be a guy that likes younger players and he likes to create a lot of movement, and that's what Rooney doesn't have.
Mr. Koeman's view is that at 31, he's not an old player, he's not a retainer, and he doesn't know why he's not being better used at Manchester United. He's delighted that that Wayne Rooney's available and he's going to Everton.
OK, well, let's hear from Nick, who's an Everton fan. Nick, good evening.
Yeah, good evening to both of you.
Yeah, hi, Nick.
Mike Graham, I don't know how. First of all, I don't know how you put up with this gentleman that you work with.
Well, I mean, I've had to put up with it for a long time, so I'm used to it.
Yeah, obviously you've become used to it. I'm a season ticket holder at Everton. I've been for 20 years plus.
Good man.
I'm totally against Wayne Rooney coming back, and it's nothing to do with kissing the badge. It's nothing to do with once a blue, always a blue, and all of that. Wayne Rooney's had a stellar career. He's won everything there is to win in the game.
Unachieved records nobody else has achieved.
With Manchester United, which is of no relevance to me
as a footballer.
But I'm not.
England is not Manchester United, okay?
I'm not particularly interested in England, Mike. To be honest,
I am. If Wayne Rooney's the leading goal scorer.
Yeah, but he's not playing for England anymore, is he?
Well, he doesn't play for England anymore.
He could be again. He could be playing for England again.
With the greatest respect, are you going to allow me to have my point?
Yes, please.
I go home and away to watch my team and follow my team. Ronald Koeman is building a squad of players, young, exciting, vibrant players who are hungry to take us to the next level and hopefully achieve what our great club, and one thing Mike Parry and I do have in common is the fact that we love our club and we want it to achieve greatness again.
Yep.
I personally am opposed to paying Wayne Rooney somewhere in the region, and at the moment there's a lot of media speculation going around to suggest we're going to be paying him somewhere in the region of £160,000 a week.
Well, I know nothing about that, Nick. And
Mike, with the greatest respect, I said it's speculation.
Yeah.
I didn't say it was factual. And I just think he's not the future of Everton Football Club.
Yeah, I think he is for the next 3 years.
He's had a stellar career, which is, no one can argue with. But we're building for the future. And personally, listen, if Wayne Rooney is coming back to us, which I believe he is.
He is, definitely. No, he is. Nick, we wouldn't be debating this if I had a hunch he was coming back. I'm telling you, he's coming back. And I have sympathy with what you're saying, because I had my doubts. I thought, because what I was thinking in my head, Nick, was, I see, fading towards the end of his career, comes back to Everton and sees out his last 2 years. But the people I've been talking to have said, no, Wayne Rooney is coming to Everton to reinvigorate the next stage of his career, and he's going to be better at Everton next season than he has been for the last 2 years at Manchester United, because he's wanted, he's loved, and he's going to fit into a system that Mr. Koeman thinks should be adapted to accommodate Wayne Rooney.
No, nobody's. The Manchester United managers and the present incumbent don't play him. So, he has to be better. But to me, he's not the future for Everton Football Club. As great as he's been in his career, I personally, I've never booed an Everton player. Anybody who pulls the blue shirt on, to me, is an Evertonian and plays for my club.
Yeah.
And if he comes back, I'll applaud him.
You'll see astonishing performances from him, Nick.
Well, the question is,
you will see some astonishing performances.
We may do. We've got lots of calls to take, Nick. Thank you for that. I mean, the problem is that we haven't seen very many astonishing performances from Wayne Rooney for quite some time. You can argue that that's the fault of the manager. You can argue it's the fault of the England manager.
Manchester United has been suppressed,
but he's also not as quick as he was. You know that as well as everybody else.
I don't know that. I don't know. He's been suppressed. He's been psychologically led to believe that he had no future at Manchester United. He's not wanted. There is no place for him. How would you feel? How would you feel, seriously?
I know exactly how that feels.
How would you feel?
Let's talk to Patrick, who's an Everton fan.
Yeah.
Patrick, very good evening to you. What do you think?
Hello, lads. You okay?
Yeah, very well. What do you think?
I will never accept Wayne Rooney back at Everton.
Why?
Never. Mike, His best days are behind him.
No, they're not. No, I thought that, and I sympathise with what you're saying, Patrick, here, and I thought that. I thought, why should we take him at the end of his career, just wanting to paddle out his last 2 years? I can tell you, I've spoken to the people, and people have met him, right, and they've got his mental attitude. His mental attitude is, I'm going to prove I am still a top footballer, and I want to do it at Everton. And that is going to be a glorious chapter of my career. He's going to have 2 great years at Everton.
Another fairy tale ending.
It's not a fairy tale ending.
You know
but, I mean,
what?
also him saying that.
Only Everton could do this. Only Everton could do this. Everton are one romantic club. Do you agree?
No, there's no romance. I promise you, Patrick.
Our eyeballs and nostalgia.
Right,
we are.
Right, Patrick, can I tell you why there's no romance? Let me tell you this. The only person involved in this move, bringing Wayne Rooney back to Everton, is Ronald Koeman. Nobody else at the club is involved. Mr. Koeman had the yay or nay on this. He went and met people. He is absolutely sure about Wayne Rooney's mental attitude and his physical ability and his presence as a footballer. And it was he alone who went back to Everton. And first of all, he told all his coaches, Wayne Rooney's coming back here. And then he went to Goodison and told the people who organise things, get prepared, Wayne Rooney's coming back. It's a done deal.
But, Patrick, how many of the fans...
5 goals last season.
Yeah.
8 goals the season before that.
Yeah, but he was
Look,
never...
I'm not a football coach. All I know is the older the car you have, the more likely it's going to break down. And I think it's morally wrong.
No,
the
rubbish.
amount of money they're going to pay this man.
Rubbish.
A week.
Is he, Patrick, is he going to become... Is he likely to be the top paid player at Everton?
Mike, you know what? I think Wayne Rooney needs Everton more than Everton need him.
Oh, rubbish.
That's an interesting point, Patrick.
Utter rubbish.
That's
I think we should talk to some Everton fans, actually, who are thrilled at Wayne Rooney coming back.
There are many
because
thrilled,
there are many of them.
There are many of them, and we've already spoken to a couple of them. 08717 2233 4.
It's a wonderful night, gotta take it from me. It's a wonderful night, come on and break it on down. It's a wonderful night.
This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. Loads more coming up. We're keeping track of Andy Murray, of course. Lewis Hamilton's in action at the weekend. He's already had some kind of penalty. We'll get into that. And the Lions as well. But first, though, let's go back to the phones because a lot of Everton fans want to have their say. If you're a Man United fan, by the way, we'd like to hear from you as well. Is it time for Jose Mourinho to offload Wayne Rooney? And if Everton think he's got some use for them, why does Jose Mourinho not think he's got any use for them?
It's a very good question. You know, Ronald Koeman is definitely of the opinion that Wayne Rooney is an extremely valuable footballer for any football club. He's still one of the best 5 English footballers living and alive.
Yeah.
OK. Why has Jose not been able to use it?
Well, let's find out from some United fans. Let's talk to Peter first of all. Those Everton fan, Liverpool. Peter, very good evening to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm made up that he's coming back. And Patrick before was talking about romance. Yeah, of course, all fans are romantic about the clubs. We love our own clubs, don't we? I was when he went. I was talking to Bob Pendleton, the scouts who spotted him. He lives next to me. And Bob was, saying. I said, "Do you think he'll go, Bob?" And Bob said, "Oh yeah, he's got to go." And he's done well, the kid.
Yeah.
And don't forget, he's come from nothing. There's pictures of him in the Echo, Liverpool Echo, when he was in his kids' football teams. He had holes in his training shoes. He had nothing.
Yeah.
And he's done fantastic, and he's been a great ambassador for the city. Just like the other lads, anyone who comes from the town, Robbie Fowler.
Yeah, but Pete, just to repeat what you've just said, it's not based on sentiment. If you saw Wayne Rooney lining up in the Everton team, the kick-off against Stoke, isn't it, our opening fixture, would your heart burst with pride at the fact that we have got
I'd be crying my eyes out.
Yeah, but hang on, not just because he's Wayne Rooney, but we've got a man there who's played, who's scored more goals for England than anybody else, who's got nearly a record number of caps, who is actually, believe it or not, the record goal scorer at Manchester United, one of the most famous clubs in the world, and now he's lining up in an Everton shirt. That's brilliant.
That's one of the things, isn't it? I heard he's leaving there now because he's the leading goal scorer. You've got to put a statue of him outside Old Trafford, and they're not really.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Well, they may have to do that.
Yeah.
But I mean, and you're right, Peter, to say that fans are very romantic about it all. But what if in that first game against Stoke, he either gets an injury or he gets pulled off at half time because
that could happen to any footballer.
Yeah, I know, but he's he's been substituted in plenty of games in most recent times. He scored 5 goals in the Premier League. He's been dropped by England. He's not really on top of his game, Peter.
Well, he hasn't looked happy, has he? The last couple of seasons, I don't think he's looked happy. I loved him playing against Everton because he never performed against it. Well, apart from the third, when he first scored and he won that because of bad boot. But
Yeah.
sod that, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter now. He's coming back and he'll kick off. Liverpool Christie was the fastest man in the world when he was 35. He's 31.
Yeah.
He's not. He's still.
Yeah, but he's not quick
Yeah.
anymore. But he's not going to suddenly get quicker, is he?
No, but Jose's treated him disgracefully. I mean, Jose's come in and said, sweep a new broom and all this, and it's a bit like the way Sir Alex Ferguson treated sort of David Beckham in a way, that nobody's bigger than me.
Lukaku disgracefully did he's buying him back.
Yeah.
Well, that's very possible.
Well,
Now-
is he?
Well,
That's
we shall
another
see.
very good question.
Well, we shall see. That's another good question. Peter, thank you very much indeed. A lot of people are texting in saying that only the other week you were saying, Porky, it shouldn't happen. You should never go back, and it won't happen. Now he's saying it's like the greatest thing to happen to Everton.
Yeah, I do.
I mean, there was a time when you said you didn't want Wayne Rooney back, but now it seems as though you've changed your mind.
I have heard from people who are mirroring Wayne Rooney's intent to go back to Everton.
Right.
And there is nothing romantic about it. There is nothing sentimental about it. There is nothing about, back to my roots and all that, He wants to play football, and his best option to play football is to go somewhere where a manager still rates him as a great footballer.
That may be, but I'm saying a lot of people are saying that you've changed your mind on it, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. Because Wayne Rooney and Ronald Koeman know each other's minds about the intent next season. And Wayne Rooney's intent is I want to play for Everton, and Ronald Koeman's intent is I still rate you as one of the great English footballers. You are going to be an essential part of my plans for at least the next 2 years, probably 3. And the whole landscape has changed. And Ronald Koeman is not taking him on sentiment. Nobody else at the club has said it would be great to get Wayne Rooney back. Ronald Koeman has told his coaching staff, it's my decision because I know about the boy. I can read his mind now. I know what he wants. He's going to be essential to this club.
Well, let's talk to Dan, who's a Man United fan, and see how sorry he is that Wayne Rooney apparently is now leaving. About 25 appearances. I mean, do you feel like he should have been used better? Because his form would suggest otherwise, Dan.
Well, I think he's probably United's most like player in terms of goals. His passing range is excellent.
Yeah.
He's obviously got a goal in him. I think if he played more regularly, it's like he relies on form and playing regular games. So if he did have a decent run in the team, he could have probably scored a lot more than that. Right. United didn't play well either, did they? So
well, they weren't great, were they? I mean, that's the thing. I mean, whether Jose Mourinho's maybe passed it himself remains to be seen. Maybe that's what we'll find out in the next season. Thanks for your call. Let's talk to another Man United fan, Mark, who's in Colchester. Hi, Mark.
Hello, how you doing, guys?
Yeah, very well.
Yeah, hi, Mark.
What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I think this is the biggest blunder that Everton is making. Koeman had a very good, young, fast team that he was building, and he's just put a slow coach in there. The last 3 years, Rooney has lost pace. He gets tackled, loses the ball constantly. His goals have dried up. He's been dropped by every manager now, not just Jose. When Ferguson was in charge, the first thing he said is, right, he's not going to be my goal scorer now. I'm going to drop him to midfield. Then Moyes did the same thing. Van Gaal did the same thing.
Well, hang on, Mark. Which other managers have dropped him? Are you talking about Gareth Southgate dropping him?
No, I don't mean dropping him.
Because Gareth Southgate does not have a record in the Premier League. Gareth Southgate manages 10 games a season.
I'm talking about dropping him from a striker into the midfield.
Well, look, Wayne Rooney has always been misused by managers who one minute they want him as a striker, next minute they want him as a number 10, next minute they want him dropping off the shoulder of, their big 6'3", leading the line. Wayne Rooney's been used, and I'm not saying abused, but he's been used everywhere because he's such a willing footballer.
Okay, then you have to answer me this question. Why did Jose not bring him to Chelsea when he was there? Because there was all talk he was going to go to Chelsea. Why did Kane
because Manchester United paid him $360,000 a week. That's why, and that's a business deal. And that's what you do in football.
That's pathetic as a Manchester captain and an England captain selling out to money rather than
Mark, you could say it's just loyalty to Manchester United. Yeah. I don't think that's really the issue. The issue now, Mark, is whether Manchester United are going to be worse off without him, and that's the question.
Not a question in doubt. I've watched Man United for the last 3 years with Rooney, and I've been on TalkSport many a time stating he's got to go. He's not good enough. He's not good enough for the Champions League. You look at Ronaldo and Rooney in 2008. Ronaldo was on 25 Champions League goals. Rooney was on 24. Ronaldo's over 100 now. Rooney, nothing. And don't tell me Man United haven't got to the Champions League.
No.
They got to the Champions League 4 years in a row.
Ronaldo, out and out, knew what was expected of him in the team in which he played, and Wayne Rooney has been messed around by managers over the years. And I tell you something, Mark, you're a Manchester United fan. I tell you now, Everton are going to challenge Manchester United for a position above them in the Premier League next season. I'm telling you.
That may well be the case.
And Wayne Rooney will be part of that.
Here's one from Parry. He says, I thought Everton are trying to get into the top 4, so why do they want Rooney? Surely he's past his best. Let's talk to Dave, who's another Everton fan, who's happy that he's coming back. Dave.
Hello, mate.
Yeah.
Hi, Dave.
Hiya, mate. Anyone who says that Wayne Rooney is a bad move for Everton is mental.
Yeah, they are.
It's very simple. Wayne Rooney is a world-class footballer. And take away the fact he's a world-class footballer. We've got Pickford, Holgate, Keane, Davies, Calvert-Lewin, all these young English players. Who better for the last 10 years to sit in that dressing room with them youngsters than Wayne Rooney?
I totally agree.
Even if he doesn't have the best of his 2 years, because I agree with you, actually. I think he's going to be excellent. I think he's going to challenge Davy Klassen for that number 10 spot. If Barkley stays, I think he'll be absolutely influential on him. It's an absolute win for Everton. I will not listen to anyone who says that that's not the truth.
I totally agree, Dave.
So you'd like to see him starting in the team over Ross Barkley, do you think?
I don't think Barkley will be there. So I think it'll be maybe Klassen who will have to sort of wait his turn. But for me, Rooney starts next season. Again, yes, he's 31. They're saying we're going to buy Giroud for 20 million. He's 30.
Well, I think it'd be 20 million if we did, but you're absolutely right. But Dave, the point is...
he's 30 years old. That's what I mean.
Sorry, you're absolutely right. Dave, I mean, just to correct you a little bit, everything you've said is... But believe me, Mr. Koeman is not thinking, wow, it'll be great to have Wayne Rooney sitting in the dressing room with all those young kids around him. Wayne Rooney's not there to instill, passion and fervour in the rest of the team, although he will. He's there because he's going to be an essential component of a great Everton team next season. That's the way Mr. Koeman's looking at it.
Fascinating stuff. Listen, Dave, I've got some great news for you, Porky. The BBC, 9 minutes ago, have broken a story, obviously having listened to our show, saying that Man United, Wayne Rooney, set for a free transfer to Everton. So they're saying it's a done deal, but they're also saying that he's going for nothing. They're saying there's quite optimism that the deal is close and that Rooney wants to return to Goodison. Well, we could have told you that, and in fact we did tell you that, 55 minutes ago.
Absolutely.
So why would you bother with the BBC?
Absolutely.
I'd have to say that is the worst piece of news gathering I've ever seen in my life.
As we know, the BBC do listen to us intently.
They do, yeah.
And I think what they've done is they've picked up on what you and I have been saying, and they've decided to make a couple of phone calls and decided, oh dear, TalkSport are at least an hour ahead of us on this one.
Yeah, well, it seems that way. As ever, Gary's a Man United fan. He says Rooney is probably at an Everton level now, not top class. Rooney could not reinvent his game like Giggs. I will pay for the taxi to take him to Everton.
Really?
Yeah,
well, OK, that's all very good. I mean, football rivalry is all about banter and competitive talk, and that's what we're doing now.
Indeed.
But I'm telling you lot there, I'm telling you that Wayne Rooney in an Everton team next season going to be a very, very powerful force.
I'll tell you what, I want to talk
country.
about what the rest of the Everton team is going to look like, because I think it's going to be interesting, because it depends on who he's got around him, and they've got a pretty decent squad now, so we shall see. Porky may have finally got something right. Good evening, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to Two Mics on TalkSport. We've just taken some great calls over the course of the last hour. We broke the story earlier that Wayne Rooney is now an Everton player. Everybody else is following us, everybody else is picking it up. The BBC are now saying that he's going on a free transfer from Manchester United to Everton. He will not be taking part in their overseas tour ahead of the season kicking off. He is supposedly going to be in the starting lineup, according to Mike Parry, for Everton against Stoke in the opening game of the season. Manchester United, according to the Manchester Evening News, have now agreed the transfer of Wayne Rooney. Once again, about an hour after we said that this was happening, after Mike Parry broke the news, here we are. We're still going to take your calls on it. Will he be a legend, regarded as a legend at Manchester United? Has he got more to give? Could he get back into the England squad? This is all very, very important for the Premier League, of course. 08717 223344. We're going to be talking about a lot more stuff over the course of the show as well. Looking ahead to the Lions game, keeping a track of Andy Murray, who's 2-1 up as well. And it's Porky quiz time on Wimbledon. Wimbledon. You're listening to the Two Mics with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. You can find us, of course, at the Two Mics. We will be Facebook Live on the Porky quiz, so you'll be able to watch it as well as listen to it. But I think, Mike, what we should do before we go any further on the show, having spoken about Wayne Rooney and taken a lot of very interesting calls from both Everton and Manchester United fans, is that we really ought to stop for a moment and pay tribute to Bradley Lowery.
I totally agree.
The young boy who has sadly died after 18 months of a battle with neuroblastoma, and I think probably there isn't a dry eye in the country having seen the news, and probably I don't think there's anyone in the country who hasn't been touched by this little boy and his bravery and his incredible kind of resilience over the course of the last sort of 18 months or so.
And of course, the tremendous support that Jermaine Defoe has given to the little lad. I mean, you're right about the dry in the house and all that kind of stuff. And when you heard it, what can you say? All you can say is rest in peace and all that kind of stuff. I put out a couple of tweets earlier. I said he was a little lad, but he was a hell of a man as well, because what he went through in his very short life, you know. And also I'm not sure if you can have dignity at his age, if you know what I mean, because you're so little and you really don't know.
He certainly did, though, didn't he?
That's what I'm saying. You're so little and you don't really know why your life isn't the same as other little kids around you and all that. But his tremendous dignity in the short time he had has touched everybody, and we just have to now really reach out to his family and say he made a hell of an impact on life in the few short years he was with us.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the football community as well, which is often portrayed in a bad light, really did terribly well to embrace Bradley in all sorts of different ways. And there's an awful lot of tributes being paid to him by many footballers. You know, of course, Jermaine Defoe will always be recognised as being his kind of almost his guardian angel, if you like. But he was quite often a mascot at football games.
He was.
He went to he loved Sunderland Football Club. I saw some video of him today. You probably remember it, where he scored a penalty.
That's right.
And it said Sunderland 1, Chelsea 0. And I mean, I can't imagine what his parents are going through. You just can't imagine what it's like to have a child who has a terminal illness.
Yeah, well, sadly, a terminal illness means that it's going to come to an end at some stage. So, you know, it's a terribly hard thing to have to do, but at least you know that closure is coming and all that kind of stuff. The football community and football clubs are often attacked for being selfish. They're often attacked for being, you know, self-serving and that they accumulate tremendous wealth, and do they distribute enough of that amongst the community, all that kind of stuff. But almost every football club that got involved donated large sums of money, if not to help the family, to help the research that might help other children not suffer from this terrible disease.
Sure. And there is, in fact, already a few, I suppose you might say, social media campaigns going on. One of them is to give the Sports Personality of the Year award to Jermaine Defoe and Bradley jointly. Now, I'm not sure if that's the way to go with that. I mean, it could be. I'm not going to say you shouldn't do it. I don't know whether his parents would like that. Well, I think we should side with his parents in whatever way.
I totally agree with you.
You know?
I totally agree with you. I think to over-sentimentalise it is wrong. I mean, you know, it's an issue. It's terribly sad. It's happened. The heart of the world has gone out. But then I think to extend it then almost devalues the brave battle the little boy put up to stay alive. Yeah,
his parents put out this statement today. My brave boy has went with the Angels today at 1:35 in Mummy and Daddy's arms, surrounded by his family. He was our little superhero and put the biggest fight up, but he was needed elsewhere. There are no words to describe how heartbroken we are. Thank you, everyone, for all your support and kind words. Sleep tight, baby boy, and fly high with those Angels.
Yeah, absolutely tremendous. That, you know, the whole of the world, you know, not just the football community, managed to deliver so much compassion, and we'll never forget him.
No.
We will simply never forget him.
He will never be forgotten.
No.
And, you know, if there's anything, obviously, that anybody can do, it is probably just to issue condolences and to... we haven't heard from the family yet what they plan to do as far as any arrangements or anything like that. But I'm sure if you keep your eyes on Twitter and you keep your eyes on Facebook, there'll be lots of things that you can do.
Absolutely.
And in fact, I've got one here from Bob, who's a Sunderland fan. He said Everton gave a massive donation to Bradley's fund, as I'm sure did an awful lot of other football clubs.
Exactly.
And Everton are very very much the focus of what we're talking about this evening, because Mr. Parry here broke the news earlier on in the show, right at the start of the show, that Wayne Rooney is now an Everton player. That looks like it's now being confirmed. We heard from our representative of the betting industry that betting had been suspended this afternoon, which all tied in as well with Porky's inside knowledge. I understand as well, Mike, and I don't know whether you can confirm this, that he's already cleared his locker out at Manchester United. Is that true?
That's what somebody told me, and I can't confirm that. But apparently, Carrington is, a top range, training facility and all that kind of stuff. Did you know that footballers now are so wealthy that they can't get insurance for their watches unless they have a safe in the training ground?
Is that right?
Where
so you have
playing.
a safe inside the locker room?
Yeah, you have a safe inside the locker room, but it has to be a safe which the insurance company has to come along and look at and say, that's a good safe, because the amount of jewellery and watches that players now take to training is it can amount to £100,000. We've seen...
Can you imagine that scene? I remember when I played in the hack sort of cup at the old Wembley, and they said, if you've got any jewellery, please remove it at the touchline.
Right.
And I mean,
just leave it on the touchline.
Well, in those days, but you can imagine doing that now.
No. What happens is now, if they, sometimes you see a player being interviewed after the game, and for some reason I've never worked out, and Ronaldo, I think, is the prime example. Yeah. They come off the pitch without any jewellery on, and then when they're doing the talk-up, 10 minutes later, they've got two huge gold earrings,
or something,
diamonds in their ears. So they go in. So those must be in the locker room, unless somebody's walking
maybe
around.
Maybe got somebody walking around with a portable safe.
Well, exactly. But the point is, I don't think they have somebody following around when they're training every day. So my understanding is that when they have, they've got a watch worth 50 grand, and you go training in it, if you're a Chelsea player, a Manchester United player, that watch has got to... Because there were a series of robberies,
well, do you remember,
I think, at Cobham.
Andy Carroll was almost carjacked, wasn't he, by somebody coming out of the West Ham training ground.
Who tried to get his watch off him in the car.
Well,
that's right.
I mean, it's the one place where people have got an awful lot of valuable stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So, anyway, let's go back to the calls, because we haven't got a lot of time. We're going to go back to Wimbledon in a moment. Nicky's a Man United fan. Nicky, what have you got to say about Wayne Rooney?
Evening, guys. Hope you're all right.
Yeah, good.
I'd just like to pass on my condolences to Bradley Lowery's family.
Of course.
Very good of you.
An amazing young man.
Yeah.
What an amazing young man, do you know what I mean? So he should be celebrated and revered for what he did in his short life, I believe.
Yeah.
But getting on to Rooney, I think it's a great move for Everton. Absolutely fantastic, especially if there's no fee involved.
Yes.
I think he needs a new challenge. He's done everything at United. Top goal scorer, won every trophy, every competition that he could win.
Yeah.
I just think he needs a new challenge now. I think he needs to go back to where his heart is.
Yeah.
I think he's still got something to prove.
Yeah.
And even if he doesn't recreate the great displays that he had when he was a younger player at his age now, what an absolute inspirational world-class person to have in the dressing room.
Well, there is that, but that's not the reason.
Young kids.
There is that, Nicky, but that's not the reason he's going back. I think it will become clear.
I don't think it is. I think he's got a lot. I think he's got a point to prove.
Yes.
I think he needs a new challenge, and I think a new challenge on the pitch, not on the sub-bench.
Yes, yeah, I agree with you, and also the main point here is that Wayne Rooney is going off to play football in an arena and with a team where he thinks he could still win things. And the revolution that's happened at Everton is part of why he's going back, because he sees ambition and he sees drive and he sees a manager, Mr. Koeman, is amongst the best. He's not going back for sentiment. He's going back because he wants to still win things.
Yeah, I mean, Koeman's building something very exciting. I've said this for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Very exciting. The previous caller who said he's building a young, exciting squad and doesn't want to ruin it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're signing one 31-year-old. He's talking like you're signing 5 38-year-olds. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
No, you're absolutely right, Nicky. Listen, thank you very much indeed for your thoughts, especially your condolences to Bradley's family as well. Let's go straight down to Wimbledon. We'll take more of your calls very shortly. This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. It is Porky quiz time coming up. We'll keep an eye on Andy Murray for you as well. Ross says, congrats on scooping the BBC on the Rooney story. Join my Ditch the BBC campaign. There's no need for that. But certainly you were very much ahead of the curve here, Mr. Parry.
Well, we were. There's a lovely tweet here, and I have to say, I've got to laugh because this involves another Everton player who went to Manchester United.
Yeah.
And JPK says, I'm just waiting for Porky to confirm that Everton have taken back that donkey Fellaini that they sold to us. Any hope hope.
Yes. Yeah, is there any chance? Well, only if David Moyes goes back to Everton, I think, is the answer to that one. Also, have you seen the joke that was put out of, I think it was one of the Neville brothers, putting Lukaku in a Manchester United shirt and tweeting it out as if to say, we can now confirm that he is a Manchester United player. But he's now confessed that actually he was just making fun of it all. But the Lukaku situation is interesting, isn't it? Because I don't know whether you've been able to get any info on that particular state of affairs. But everyone's expecting him to go to Manchester United. Right. But you may have some news on that one as well.
Well, I don't want to be sort of, blow my own trumpet or anything like that. But no, I didn't mean to say that. Sorry, I don't want to be sort of causing alarm. No. I don't want to be causing alarm.
You certainly wouldn't be blowing your own trumpet.
No, I wouldn't be blowing my own
trumpet.
trumpet.
It's not the sort of thing you do.
No, I'm not blowing my trumpet. Right. My understanding, and this is for Manchester United fans and Everton fans, right, is that the reason that the Lukaku deal has not been done is because Everton are expecting, or Everton feel, a counter bid is imminent from Chelsea.
Right. So Chelsea, who have looked at in most of the coverage so far this week, as if they've been gazumped, if you like, by Jose Mourinho and Manchester United, because they just haven't managed to get their act together. You're saying that if they were to put a bid in which was acceptable, that they would more likely get Lukaku even at this late stage?
I'm saying that my understanding is Everton are still open to offers on Lukaku.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
Now, we all know that, and by the way, the two deals that we've been talking about tonight, Wayne Rooney and Lukaku, are completely independent.
Are completely independent of each other.
We're never linked.
Right.
We're never,
Despite
ever linked.
what some people said.
No. Look, speculation is rife, and we read it on the back of the newspapers all the time, and people talk to different people and all that. Yeah. But I can tell you now, I can confirm, there was never a link between Lukaku leaving Everton and Wayne Rooney arriving. Okay. Never. Because it was expected that Lukaku would go to Chelsea. Yeah. And there was never a need to be a link.
And maybe he still will. Maybe he still will.
My understanding is that the door is still open at Everton. Yeah. And I can't say that Everton are expecting a bid from Chelsea. Right. But I can tell you there is room for a counter bid from Chelsea to Everton to acquire Lukaku. Now, I know Lukaku is in America at the moment. I know his big mate is Pogba. Yes. And I know that they're talking together. And
the belief is that perhaps Manchester United want him on their pre-season tour.
There is some belief in that as well. Yeah. But the Conte situation, Antonio Conte is not threatened to leave Chelsea, but he is very frustrated. And somebody said to me earlier today, Mr. Abramovich normally gets what he wants. Yeah. Mr. Abramovich has got a fantastic record of changing his managers but still winning things all the time. Yeah. He has a winning mentality and philosophy in football.
But he's also adopted a new philosophy, which is not to just go out and splurge any old amount of money that he gets asked to do. No. He wants to run the club as a proper business now, doesn't he? He wants to make sure that if he is going to buy, he's going to have the money to do so.
The view, I'm told, and Everton are open to other bids for Lukaku. The view, apparently, is that Chelsea regard a £75 million deal for Lukaku as being undervalued for the player they want. Okay. And they have a budget for the player they want which is in excess of £75 million. Okay. And I think Everton have been made aware of that.
Okay, well, let's talk to some Man United fans because, of course, they may wish... I mean, Lukaku's another one of these players who kind of splits the crowd, if you like. Yes. Some Chelsea fans are already saying, we don't want Lukaku. We're very glad he's going to Man United.
That's right.
Let's see what Lewis says. He's a Man United fan. Lewis, very good evening to you. Do you want Lukaku or do you not care if he doesn't come?
Yeah, 100%. I think we need him. If we get him... I think we could definitely be serious title contenders next season. Mm-hmm. He's always scored goals. Wherever he's gone, he's always scored goals. Mm-hmm. So I think he'll get more chances at Man United, and I think he'll score between 25 and 30 goals next season, 100%.
Are you worried that some of the goals he scores, as far as the stats go, are not always terribly crucial goals? That seems to be the criticism of him.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, if he gets the opportunities, he will score. When obviously Everton were playing against the better teams, he may have got less chances, so it's harder for him to score. Mm-hmm. But we always create chances, whoever we play against. If he gets the chances, he will score, 100%. Okay.
Lewis, are you going to be upset if Chelsea bamboozle you now and come in with a bigger bid and take Lukaku?
They won't. They won't. If we don't get Lukaku, then Rooney doesn't go back to Everton. Simple as that.
No, Rooney's gone.
No, Rooney's already gone.
No. Rooney's gone.
Rooney has already gone.
There is no connection, believe me, between the Rooney deal and Lukaku. Rooney has gone. Rooney is effectively an Everton player as of now.
Then we'll get Lukaku
Well,
Chelsea won't. It's too late. I think it's probably too far down the line for Chelsea to come in now.
I don't think it is. I think you better look over your shoulder. I think there's still...
No. We'll be okay. We'll be all right.
Well, I think there's still a chance that Lukaku could end up as Chelsea. I think that's the club he wanted to go back to. I think that, obviously his head's been turned by Pogba, his fellow footballer, and maybe Manchester United came in first. But I think there's still a sting in the tail in this deal.
Well, that may well be. Lewis, thank you very much indeed for your call. We'll go to Ross, who's also a Man United fan, to find out what he says. Well, I've just got some breaking news for you. The Everton spending spree continues.
Right.
Apparently, they've now signed an 18-year-old winger called Josh Bowler from QPR.
Oh, yes.
Don't know about him. Anything on your radar on him?
No, I heard about a deal being done possibly earlier on. I think he may go out on loan when he's signed.
Yeah.
But I think Everton are doing such great business. They're not only buying players who are going to start next season, like Keane as major players. I mean, Everton have bought a whole spine.
Well, they're the only people that seem to have done any major business at all,
We've bought a goalkeeper,
so
we've bought a centre-half, we've bought a very active midfield player. We're
England's
looking
former captain.
for a striker. Exactly. England's former captain and the highest scoring player ever to have played for Manchester United. That's not bad pedigree.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. Here's one from Jason, who says, if footballers need a secure place for their valuables, how about Porky's locked room?
Yeah,
rent it out.
Yeah, I wish I had a few of the footballers' watches in my locked room, even though I don't have a locked room.
Indeed. Let's talk to Ross, who's a Man United fan. Ross, what are you hearing about Lukaku? We're hearing that it's all on hold. He might not be coming. And what do you think about Rooney leaving? Nope, he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone.
Maybe my question was a bit too long.
No, it wasn't too long at all. The Lukaku situation is so fluid because, how can I put this? Everton have only agreed to keep taking bids.
Yeah.
And the folder's not closed.
There's plenty of time, isn't there?
Well, there's plenty of time.
The transfer window does not close until the end of August.
That's right. I mean, all this sort of shenanigans about him being in let me tell you this. All this shenanigans about America. Right.
Yeah.
Everton never expected Lukaku to come back to pre-season training.
Yeah.
So stories earlier in the week that Mr. Koeman's really upset. He didn't even turn up for pre-season training. Yeah. It was pointless.
Right.
Lukaku was always going to leave Everton.
Right.
We knew that from the end of last season.
Yeah.
His agent.
Although I had a theory, which is maybe now completely debunked and thrown out of the water, that maybe he wasn't going to go anywhere. Well, I mean, events would suggest he's going, wouldn't they?
He is definitely going.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, far from Mr. Koeman being upset that Lukaku didn't turn up for pre-season training at the start of this week, it was completely the opposite way around.
Yeah.
He didn't want him in training because Lukaku was on his way out of Everton. He wasn't being thrown out. He wasn't being pushed out. He was going as part of the transfer merry-go-round.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So actually, Mr. Koeman didn't want him at Finch Farm because the new players coming in didn't want to feel that they were joining a club that somebody was leaving. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
So Lukaku was actually given the blessing to go to America without a problem. In fact, they wanted him as far away as possible, so he ended up in America. Just so happens that Manchester United are starting their pre-season matches in America, and people have put two and two together and got five. But in no way at all is the deal for Lukaku to leave Everton and go to Manchester United sealed. No way at all.
Okay.
The door is open, and I believe Everton would accept higher bids for Lukaku.
Yeah.
And there's only one club in the world I think is going to bid higher than Manchester United, 75 million.
And that would be Chelsea.
Yeah.
Breaking news. This is from Chase, who says, BBC mugged by Mike Porky Parry and his magical connections. Hashtag bring back Rooney tunes.
Oh,
well, there may well be another book in it, I suppose. That's always a possibility. If we spend the first hour and a half on Everton, we're now going to talk about the Beatles.
Yeah, I'm afraid
there is a very good reason for that. So please don't be too hard on us, because we've had a remarkable delivery to the office here a few days ago. It was sent into Porky Parry from a man who's been listening to TalkSport for many, many a year.
Since the start,
Mr. Mustafa Dar. Now, would you like to tell us what the actual package contained, first of all?
We're going to talk to Mustafa in just a second. But can I tell you, a package arrived here, and we have Postman Pork, obviously.
Yes, we do.
And we open packages and all that. However, this package arrived.
This was a bit too valuable for Postman Pork.
Well, it was too heavy as well. So it arrived downstairs, and of course, I was suffering chronic sciatica.
Oh, I didn't know.
So I had to get you to haul it up the lift and all that kind of stuff, which you did manfully,
Thank
right?
you.
So then we opened it and we thought, well, it's wine, because we always like getting a delivery of a few bottles of wine, but it seemed even too heavy for wine.
Yeah.
So we opened it, and I have to say, it is the most remarkable thing, and we don't want to dwell on, you know, the Beatles and all that kind of stuff, but what I've been sent by Mr. Mustafa Dar, who runs his own sort of internet, business and that kind of stuff, is a box set of every Beatles LP, which has been digitally enhanced to the modern age.
Every Beatles LP ever made, effectively.
Every Beatles LP ever made, and these are in vinyl, right? But not only that, which is magnificent, a second box of every Beatles LP in its original form, in the thick vinyl.
When it was made in mono.
When it's made in mono, and which I bought during my life as a kid and all that kind of stuff.
No.
It's absolutely remarkable. I didn't even know that these collections existed.
Yeah.
Years ago, I lost my LP collection moving house one time or another.
Yeah.
And it's just been, every single Beatles LP has been replaced. So I just had to really say to Mustafa a huge thank you.
Yeah, well, let's get Mustafa on and find out what on earth inspired him to do such a thing. Mustafa, a very good evening to you. Thank you for coming on.
Evening, Mike. How you guys doing?
Yeah,
very well indeed.
Very well indeed. As I say, I mean, I was slightly disappointed to decide to discover that there wasn't any wine inside the box, but there we are. I mean, you know, each to his own. And a fantastic collection of albums. I mean, even though we make fun of Porky for his Beatles obsession, I mean, I've actually still got my original Abbey Road album and the original Sgt. Pepper, which I play from time to time.
Yeah.
But I mean, I didn't even know there was such a box set. Where'd you find it?
So basically, what I do, I've been doing it for the last. Well, I started when I was about 7 years old, to be honest, but I've taken it serious since I left uni. I started up a business selling online, so I started with games.
Hang on, Mustafa, we're not getting on very well here line-wise. I think, if you don't mind, we're going to just...
Should we try and see if we can get a better line?
Get you on a better line, Mustafa, because you want to hear your story, please.
And as we're doing that, I meant to mention this earlier to you, because somebody mischievously did a picture of Wayne Rooney earlier on in the week, I think. I don't know whether you saw this, but there's a picture of him at the McDonald's drive-in in Cheshire.
I saw that.
Getting some McDonald's in for him and his kids.
That was fantastic, wasn't it? Because the two McDonald's servers just opened a window, saw Wayne Rooney. It was in Warrington, in Cheshire.
Did a sort of drive-through, just a drive-through selfie.
That's right, drive-through selfie. And I'm not sure whether they asked his permission or not.
Well, by the looks of his scowl, I don't think he's too happy about it.
Well, yeah, but I suppose he gets that, 20 times a day.
Well, of course, the Wayne Rooney sort of haters will say, well, you wouldn't see Ronaldo in a McDonald's drive-in with his kids. He shouldn't be eating that kind of food if he's going to be the new part of the the Evertonian revival.
Well, that's true. Well, we have to accept that he's probably getting it for his children.
Yes. I think we've got Mustafa back,
great.
so let's see if we've got a better line. Mustafa, hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, I think that sounds a bit better. Sorry, so you was telling us about the business you started up.
Yes, so I started, when I left uni, I was selling games online.
Yeah.
So I started with more electronics, made it a bit bigger. And about a year ago, I bought like a large... big shipment of LPs, and when I was it took ages to sort through it, and then I popped up these Beatles collections, and obviously because I was listening to you guys for a long time, I thought, well, who better to give it to than Mike Parry?
Well, it's terribly, terribly kind of you, Mustafa, and I have to say, these are collector's items, I know people come on to me all the time and say, oh, you're a Beatles bore, and I admit that sometimes I am, but actually, anybody who's into popular music, even the most popular music now, couldn't fail to be impressed by the quality of these. They're beautifully boxed. Each individual LP is wrapped in cellophane. I mean, these are collector's items. Do you have more than the ones you just sent me? I mean, are people buying these off you on your internet business?
I had about 5 of each, and I've sold them all now. Well, they were my last ones left.
Right. OK. Well, I'm going to have to pay you for these, Mustafa, because I can't possibly take them as a gift, honestly. And if you want to send that money to charity or something like that, then that would be fantastic. Do you have an interest in the Beatles yourself? Did they just drop on your toe, so to speak?
No, it just dropped on my toe, to be honest.
Well, that must have hurt your toe, because it's a very heavy box.
Yeah, very heavy box indeed.
Extraordinary. Now, you say you've been listening to Mike Parry for many a year. I don't know when you remember first hearing Mike Parry and what your first impressions were.
Well, I actually thought it was very informative, to be honest.
Informative, yeah, that's the word. That's
really?
The word. Yeah. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And Mustafa, you run this business now yourself, and what else do you do? Because obviously you don't just flog Beatles LPs.
So I do 2 things. So I've got this full-time job where I run a warehouse and I sell.
You run a warehouse?
Yes, I've got my own warehouse.
Okay, what's in your warehouse?
Well, mainly electronics.
I see.
Yeah, so I do all electronics, Apple, Dell laptops and everything. But I also got my own gym in Scotland as well.
You've got a gym?
A gym in Scotland?
Yeah,
I've got a gym in Scotland. It's called Jim White.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. I mean, the Scots aren't a nation really known for their, gym-like qualities,
That's a terrible slur, that.
They're known
what
more
about Liz McColgan?
Well, Liz McColgan, yes, is an exception to the rule. But where is this gym?
In Dundee.
Dundee! Let's all go to Dundee United.
The home of Dundee cake.
Dundee cake and all that, yeah.
And jam.
So, if you don't mind me asking, Mustafa, because obviously you're a very clever businessman, why did you suddenly decide, I think I'll buy a gym in Dundee?
Well, I bought into a franchise called Fit for Less.
Right.
And I was looking for a place in London, but rent was too high and there's a lot of development, so it was most of the landlords were saying just wait a couple of years.
Yeah.
So then what I did was I ended up I met somebody who was selling a gym in Scotland, so then I ended up buying that one through word of mouth.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mustafa, that's a bit like Only Fools and Horses, isn't it? Paris,
It is.
London, New York, Dundee.
Dundee. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Mustafa, it's terribly kind of you.
Thank you
very,
very much
generous
indeed.
gift, and thank you so much. And I'm sure we'll see you again at some point or other, and we'll talk again at some point or other as well. Mustafa Bar there. Funnily enough, I was going to send you something which I saw today, because on Facebook, a guy that I'm friends with had posted some pictures from 60 years ago, from the 6th of July 1957.
Yes.
And it's the first time that Paul McCartney saw John Lennon on stage, when apparently he was fronting the Quarrymen.
That
at
was
St. Peter's Church Garden
I was about
Fete.
to say, it was the Church Garden Fete, yeah.
And the pictures are all here, so I'm going to send it to you so you can
Fantastic.
have a look. Because they're quite remarkable pictures. It's all about how they first met, and, there's
Yeah.
been stories written about it and all the rest of it.
That's right. Now, you've put a picture out of...
I have put a picture out
myself
of
and,
you with this collection.
Yeah, well, you have to, because it's quite historic and all that. And
now, the only problem is now, what you're going to need to do is get yourself a proper record player.
I haven't got a record player.
Because what you need to do now, I think, is seek advice from the great unwashed, as you would call them,
out
there, who can tell you which. Because I've got one which is quite an easy one to use.
Yes.
Relatively challenging, about £100.
Yeah.
But you need a pair of speakers to plug it into as
Sure,
well.
sure.
But it may be that people have got better advice for you, and there might be a more expensive one you want to get. But with that sort of collection, you must be able to play them.
Well,
you have to get a proper record player.
I have to. It brings back so many sort of memories. I mean, the White Albums here and all that kind of stuff. But look, we can't dwell on that because people often say we talk too much about it, but it's just a lovely present. We had to indicate that it was there.
It is extraordinary. Now, do you remember when Andy Murray got knocked out of Queen's in the first round?
Yes,
and I was roundly
doom and
lambasted by lots and lots of people for saying that he wasn't behaving like the world's #1 tennis player.
Yeah, you were, yeah.
And he was not in any way preparing properly for Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Well, now he looks like he's gone, I think, 5-1 or 5-2 down in the fourth set against this guy who's winding him up something rotten.
Yes.
We're going to go to Lisa O'Sullivan in a second. But, I mean, it looks very much to me as though it may well go to, 5 sets. And, this is what Murray does every year, isn't it? I mean, he just really makes himself work way too hard for what he shouldn't have to do.
Well, you say work way too hard. That's why he's at the top. That's why he's #1 in the world, because that's what winners do. They work and work and work. Why do you think Ronaldo's still at the top every day?
Yeah.
Because he's never for a moment taken his foot off the gas. He remembers who he is, what he is, where he wants to be.
But he doesn't ever get knocked
stops.
out in the first round. And that would be the difference between him and Andy Murray.
Madness, they call it madness.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Coming up in the next hour, of course, we might see Andy Murray win the game that he's involved in currently. We'll be checking in with Lisa O'Sullivan. Also, it's going to be Porky quiz time, which is actually on Wimbledon.
Yes.
Andy has texted in to say, or tweeted in rather, I hope he's paying tax on those. And he's talking about that picture of your Beatles collection.
Oh, I see what you mean.
I'm not sure. What tax would you pay?
Well, I think...
it's a gift, isn't it?
I think it's a benefit, I suppose.
A benefit in kind.
A benefit in kind.
Well, then you have to pay tax on that.
Well, I will give it to my accountant to sort it all out.
Really?
Because one thing I do not want to do is avoid taxation, believe me.
Now, somebody calling himself Justin says, me and the missus are made up, MG. This is the best Friday night we've had in ages. Kids in bed, Vlado in Modo, and the two mics on a Friday night.
Well, that's very nice.
You've got to be very careful about that sort of behaviour.
And, it'd be nice to hear from somebody who's been a regular listener for all these years to tell us, listening to the two mics completely absolute stone cold sober is one thing.
Yeah.
Listening to the two mics when Vlado in Modo.
Well, not that you're suggesting people would be in that condition, obviously.
Well, always stress moderation.
Yes,
we don't
true.
say bladderisation excess. We say bladder modo.
Yeah.
And see whether there is change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whether what they're hearing is different. You know?
Yeah,
is
indeed.
Which is the better of the two? We'd like to hear from somebody who could tell us.
Well,
that.
it's a movable feast, as we often say. William says the anarchist thugs and left-wing Trotskyites are out in force, rioting in Hamburg again. The great unwashed getting hosed down, literally, by the German police.
Yeah, well, they're quite active over there, aren't they? And it's, we sometimes think that we have people on the streets in this country who get a bit wild, but not as wild as the people in Germany.
Not as bad as the anti-capitalists.
No, anti-capitalists.
Stephen
indeed.
says this: I've been listening to Porky for years, and all he's done for me is to turn me into an alcoholic.
Is that
Time
right?
for bladderation.
Well, no, I think what you have to understand is that there are many ways to relieve stress in life. One of them is moderation in imbibing alcohol, but we do stress moderation on this station because that's what we're about.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a few people are having a go at you for suggesting the Scots don't like going to the gym.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, Andy Murray does happen to be Scottish. He's on the court right now playing tennis in what is one of the probably most difficult and arduous physical sports of all time. You know, tennis players have to be incredibly sort of, filled with stamina, don't they?
Probably the fittest man in sport. Now, I see you put a picture out of me with my Beatles collection, which is very kind of you. Thank you very much indeed. That's the last of the Beatles for tonight, folks, because remember, we live in the present. We do not live in the past, right?
Now, do you remember we were talking the other day, I don't know whether you saw, in fact, I think you did see the picture on Twitter because you commented on it, but we were talking about that St Bernard over in Northern Ireland who was learning how to swim.
That's right.
Remember I was telling you about Ziggy the dog and how he doesn't like to go in the water?
No, hang on. You tell me that, and you told me that the dog only paddles on the shoreline.
That's right,
Now, did you see my response to your picture today?
Well, it wasn't my picture, you see, because I left there on Wednesday, I guess it was, came up here. So I've been in London the last couple of days, right? So I go away, having taken him, absolutely religiously to the seaside for almost every week of his life. Where he's never gone into the water. The mother of my children takes him, and he suddenly decides he's going for a swim.
I know, it's amazing.
So he's now swimming like a dog who's been swimming all his life.
I was terrified because, his poor little head was sticking out of the water, but he was clearly out of his depth. His feet weren't touching the ground.
Well,
and I thought, hang on, will we ever see Ziggy again?
Well, hang on, if you're swimming in the water, all you can see is your head.
Yes.
That's the way you swim.
I suppose
the rest of your body is submerged.
I suppose it is, yeah.
Now,
I do not want to focus on things concerning myself.
Don't you?
But an amazing
You're turning over a new leaf.
Well, you could say that, but an amazing issue has come up, right?
Right.
This is quite amazing.
Yeah.
And what has happened is that I come from Chester.
Do you?
Obviously, yeah.
You've never mentioned it.
I've never mentioned that. Okay.
Did you go to school there as well?
Went to school there.
Yeah.
King's School, Chester.
King's School, Chester.
Now, I was brought up in a suburb of Chester, which is called Hoole.
Hoole, yes.
H-O-O-L-E.
I didn't realise that was sort of generally known as a suburb. I thought it was all part of the same sort of conurbation.
I don't know what you'd call it. I mean, Chester city centre is a mile away.
Right,
and
okay.
I was born and brought up in Hoole.
Right.
I could walk to work at the Chester Chronicle in 20 minutes.
Okay.
No problem at all.
Yeah.
It's probably a mile and a half away.
Yes.
Now, if I went one particular route, I went down Hoole High Street.
Yes.
And in Hoole High Street was it was almost like a model village.
Yeah.
There was a fishmonger, there was a chip shop.
Yes.
Butchers. There was a butcher's.
Bakers.
Probably. There was a newsagent.
Yeah.
There was a
pub.
A chemist. There were 3 pubs.
Yeah.
The Faulkner Arms was one of them.
That would be you describing almost every town and village in Britain.
Okay.
And now, of course, it's very different, isn't it?
It's very different indeed. Anyway, it is described as a unique site. So traders and shoppers in a quirky independent high street, which is Hoole High Street, where I was brought up, were left fuming yesterday after planners allowed a coffee shop chain to open on their turf. Now, Hoole, which is described as a trendy suburb in Chester, Cheshire, scooped the title of the best local centre in the 2016 Great British High Street Awards.
How extraordinary.
And this is where I started my working life as a newspaper delivery boy.
But I bet it wasn't trendy then, though.
It was at Dr. Dawson's. Well, I didn't realise it was trendy, but it was. They had a pub there, right, which is the width of 2 little terraced houses. Knocked together, and it was a hole-in-the-wall pub. You went in, there was no bar, there was a bloke who looked through the counter, pulled beer off from the cellar and gave it you, and you sat down and drank it. It was amazing.
Just like sort of somebody's front room.
Somebody's front room, absolutely right. Anyway, what's happened is the Hoole High Street boasts a range of independent businesses, including a butcher, a grocer, a cobbler.
Right.
I didn't realise the cobbler there.
Yeah.
A florist, as well as cafes, bars and restaurants. But residents have hit out after it emerged multinational chain Costa Coffee was taking over the recently closed NatWest Bank site. Local council Angie Chidley said Hull is unique because it's got something a bit different. It's a shame if we lost that. We don't want Hull to be like everywhere else.
Right.
They're trying to ban Costa.
But you can't, can you? I mean, you can't stand in the way of progress, as we've often said. We were talking about electric cars the other night.
Yeah.
And I mean, Costa Coffee and all the other various different Starbucks and, all the other various chains that there are.
Sure.
I mean, in some streets now, there's about 5 coffee outlets.
Yeah, there are.
And you can't move for coffee outlets.
Somebody wrote a letter to a newspaper this week and said they stopped at services on a motorway.
Yeah.
There were 3 coffee shops of the same brand.
Inside the service stop.
2 inside and 1 outside,
Right.
that was a sort of, fast delivery.
Well, again, it's one of these businesses that people have got, and it's a franchise, I guess.
That's right.
They've made a fortune out of something that didn't exist before.
Exactly.
Are
But
you
anyway,
going to tell me that you want to try and join some campaign or other?
No. But they're closing down the NatWest Bank, and
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was still open. And
Right.
changing Costa. But you see, you've always sort of portrayed me as some kind of, ill-educated.
That's not true. I've never said you're ill-educated.
Fairly non-trendy individual.
I've always said you're not trendy, yeah.
And yet, where I came from is described as this. One Hull resident wrote on Facebook, from a quirky, cool, independent high street of the year to a carbon copy of other high streets. That's where I came from.
That's very NIMBY-ish,
I
though.
came from a quirky, cool and independent background.
Well, I
okay?
believe quirky and independent. I don't believe cool.
Yeah.
I don't think you've ever been cool.
Yeah,
But I mean, I believe quirky. But the point is that you can't stop the march of progress at the end of the day. I mean, I remember growing up in Hampstead, which really was a cool place.
Yes.
When the first McDonald's finally moved into Hampstead.
Yes.
The only way that it was allowed to be put in there was because it was the front of it had to be painted green.
Sure.
And everything inside had to be green. They couldn't use red for some reason.
Yeah.
But there was still eventually a McDonald's in Hampstead High Street.
Yes.
Which, of course, you wouldn't normally. You would have loads of people say, "Oh, we don't want that."
That's right.
We've got the actors living here and rock stars. We don't want it.
True.
I think you're just going to have to eat it up, I'm afraid.
Yeah, no, I think you're going to.
Now, I've got some more news for you.
Yeah, go on.
But first, I'm going to tell you, I've just seen David Beckham in the crowd at Wimbledon.
In the Royal Box.
Was talking. I don't know if he's in the Royal, probably in the Royal Box.
Yeah.
But Danny Kelly was talking about the death of ties. He's wearing a tie. He's wearing a
is
blue
he?
and white striped
Is he?
shirt and a blue tie.
Right.
But the other guy that caught my eye earlier was Sergio Garcia, who was sat in the Royal Box. And guess what he was wearing?
Go on.
He was wearing his Masters green jacket, which I thought was pretty cool.
Sergio Garcia goes to Wimbledon.
Goes to Wimbledon wearing the green jacket.
God, I think that's
terribly
terribly pompous.
No, of course not.
Horribly pompous.
No, I thought you'd like that.
No, you're not supposed to wear that except in, golfing circle situations. You don't wear it at Wimbledon.
No, surely if you win a Masters green jacket, right, you're only one of, I suppose, if you're thinking about people who are alive who've got them.
Yes.
Maybe 30 people.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's even any more than that.
But hang on, that would be like us being invited to the Radio Academy annual dinner.
Oh, yeah.
And we walk in.
Like that's ever going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. And we walk in with with our
with an award.
With our awards. Our award that we got for
the one that we got for the American election.
The American election.
Yeah.
It's like walking in with
Well, not really.
to remind people we're award winners.
Well, if they gave us
that's
a green,
all Sergio's doing.
Well, no, if they gave you a green jacket, you could wear it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I won the green jacket at the Masters, there would be certain events you might wear it to.
No, never.
You wouldn't wear it out on the street.
No, it would be on a mannequin in my home. A mannequin which had my face. Which had my face.
You should have a mannequin.
A mannequin. That's
A
what
mannequin.
I mean. I would have a mannequin made in my home.
In your image.
In my image.
You mean you haven't got one already?
Well, I have no problem admitting to people that I have pursued the idea of having a statue of myself made while I'm still alive.
Yes.
So that it'll be there after I'm dead.
Yeah. Do you not think you might have to go down the Margaret Thatcher route here? That there'll be so much opposition to it.
No.
People throwing things at you.
No, not at all.
Good evening, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the Two Mikes on TalkSport. Coming up in this hour, we're going to be looking ahead to the Lions and the final test tomorrow morning, which is live right here and exclusive on TalkSport. Gordon Darcy's going to be joining us, former Ireland and Lions centre, of course. Russ Hargreaves is down in New Zealand as well. There's also, of course, the Porky quiz coming up on Wimbledon. Andy Murray just storming through into the fourth round. We will be looking at that as well a little bit later on. Lots more to come. 08717 22 3344. Plus, we'll bring the details of what appears to be Chelsea's matched offer for Romelu Lukaku to Everton, which means that he is not possibly going, as Porky predicted, to Manchester United. The door is still open and Chelsea have run through it. You're listening to the Two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on TalkSport. Now, you know you're doing something right, Mr. Parry, when you get some abuse, either on Twitter or on the show.
Where are we getting abuse from?
Phil G says this. Hi, you two buffoons. I very much doubt he is wearing his green jacket from the Masters at Wimbledon, as they are not allowed to wear them outside of the Augusta Golf Club. Maybe he just owns a different green jacket. Well, I'm sorry to break this to you, Phil G, but last year Danny Willett turned up at Wimbledon wearing his green jacket from the Masters as well.
Yes.
So you may be slightly out of touch with
Could
what the
it be
rules
a
are.
replica copy?
Well, they might have replica copies, but nevertheless, it is the green jacket he won at the Masters.
I still think it's very pompous.
You don't wear. I mean, well, nobody gave Danny Willett a hard time. That was him last year after he won the Masters.
Yeah.
You know, he's there with his wife.
Yeah.
Well, I think if you've got one of these green jackets, of course you're going to wear it.
How long? It's Sergio Garcia we're talking about, isn't it?
He was there this year. This was last year. Danny Willett's last year.
How many years was he a professional before he won a Masters? Before he won a major? It was about 18 years, wasn't it?
Oh, I'm not sure about that.
I think it was.
I don't know.
Garcia,
I can't bring you any up-to-date information
But
on
all
that.
I'm saying is, that to me looks like a bloke who's, in the dying light of his career, who's desperate to say to the world, hey, listen, I'm a major winner, I got one.
Don't kid yourself. If you had a green jacket, you'd be wearing it
all
the time.
No, I wouldn't.
You'd never take it off.
No, I wouldn't, honestly.
Anyway, there's a massive game of rugby going on tomorrow morning.
You bet.
It's live right here on TalkSport. It all kicks off at 7 a.m. The kick-off itself is around about 8:35. Last week, the Lions, the British and Irish Lions, shocked the All Blacks by beating them into a submission, albeit that it was a close game, albeit that they went down to 14 men. The big question is, can they make history in the morning? You're not so sure. I'm wondering whether it's at all possible. Let's talk to Gordon Darcy and to Russ Hargreaves as well. Good evening to you, Gordon, and good morning to you, Mr. Hargreaves.
Spot on. Hi, Mike.
Thanks very much indeed. Now, Gordon, can there be history in the making here? Because, anything's possible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's two dogs at the ball. They do need a lot to go their way. They need to tie five. The Lions, their tie five, need to play as well as they did last week at a minimum, and they probably need to go a few levels up on that. The back line for the All Blacks is pretty inexperienced now. A lot of young guys coming in. You see Jordy Bard coming in at the back. He's just there to kick goals. So, it is definitely there. We know how the All Blacks reacted to Ireland beating them. They came in and they just played a really, really narrow physical game. And there's a good chance that might happen again tomorrow morning.
It could do. Now, Ross, the point is that the Lions have got nothing to lose now, have they? Absolutely nothing to lose. They're not going to get whitewashed. They are possibly going to achieve rugby immortality. But if they don't, they will have got very close, and that will be enough, won't it?
That would be a dangerous mindset, Mike. You're right. But speaking to the players and to the coaches, as I have for a big chunk of this week out here for Talk Sport, what they're trying to do is not focus on what lies ahead potentially and just really look, as Gordon, I'm sure, knows from his illustrious playing days, of just trying to focus what's within their own control and what they can deal with. And training has been very, very, very intense. It's been even niggly where there's been little mini fights breaking out at time, we understand, which I think is a good sign. It shows how much it means to them. And what they've got to do is raise the intensity levels once again. And they were just so combative and impressive in that second test. The physicality was brilliant. They've had this clever plan, Mike, of going away to Queenstown for a couple of days, just getting away from all of the stress, all of this kind of goldfish bowl that is the preparation for the final test. And the key thing is peak at the right time. Don't peak too early on about Thursday. Get it right and be bang up and bang on for what we need later on today.
Now, going back to you, Gordon, you're a player, obviously. You've been a player at this very, very high level. The New Zealand players looked as if they were pretty crestfallen last weekend. We saw pictures of them inside the dressing room. They were not looking like a team that had just lost narrowly. They looked like they'd been destroyed. So, I mean, is that sort of psychological effect going to have any bearing on the game tomorrow?
I think that is definitely something the Lions will play on. So this, when you have a 93% win ratio, the losses are few and far between. I'm sure some of those players have never lost an international game yet. But I think what this does mean is these guys, the All Blacks, they put into this whole mental resilience. They say that they're one of the mentally toughest teams ever to play the game. But that was under the Dan Carters and the Richie McCaul era, when South Africa were good and Australia were good, and they were in a lot of close battles, and England were at their best. This group of players have never been tested. They win most games by 25 points. So this is really, really uncharted territory for them. A lot of them, it's their first couple of tests. They haven't lost in those games, and these players don't lose. And now they suddenly lost, and they're expected to react by that tomorrow. And I don't think a lot of these players are going to react in the right way.
Ross, has Mr. Gatland's reputation gone 180 degrees, even, 360, from when he arrived, being branded as the clown with a big mouth, and now a man who might potentially become a Kiwi boss of the future?
I don't think he'll become the Kiwi boss of the future, but his reputation is definitely, as you say, been up, down, up again, probably at the moment. And you know what? Even a lot of people here didn't like that New Zealand Herald headline. It's quite un-Kiwi. It's very tabloid. And most people here thought that went too far. It had been done the previous year about the Aussie head coach, Michael Checker. And kind of people felt it was a little bit, Porky, as a former editor of an illustrious Fleet Street publication.
Exactly.
You don't pull these things out randomly. You need to have real context and real reason to do it. And people thought it was a little bit lazy, to be honest with you. But it certainly wound Gatland up. We had a couple of weeks of real serious kind of needle in the media, at least between the two teams and between the two head coaches. But what I quite like is the line's been drawn under that now, and everyone really is focusing on the game ahead and just saying, you know what, these are, if you count the Lions technically as like a team, a permanent team just briefly, these are the two best teams in the world you could ever get in a game of international rugby union, going toe-to-toe. It's a level series and we can't really ask for a huge more. What I would say from the Lions' point of view is discipline is going to be absolutely critical. They could have chucked that second test away very, very easily. If Beauden Barrett had kicked a couple of gettable goals, the Lions would have been out of sight in terms of their chances of pulling the game back. That's what they've been working very hard on this week. And Gatland's major focus, now that all of that sideshow has been put to one side, is getting the team spot on in terms of its discipline, not giving away penalties. If they do that and keep those intensity levels up, I think they've got a very, very good chance, which I would not have said a couple of weeks ago after that first test.
Absolutely right. I mean, I'm the same, Russ, because I thought absolutely no way will the Lions get anywhere near this New Zealand team. But after all, Gordon last week, they didn't manage to score any tries. And I know they were down to 14 men and all the rest of it. But, I mean, discipline surely has to be something that the All Blacks are concerned about now. But they must be really worried that they couldn't score a try.
Yeah, well, I think, when you're down to 14 men, it's kind of about just getting on the counter-attack, and that's what they did. And Russell is right. The Lions still nearly threw the game away with the indiscipline, and had Beauden Barrett been able to kick his way out of a wet paper bag, the Lions wouldn't have done it. So that's what Jordy Barrett is brought in for. And to me, that just seems that the Kiwis are going to play a really, really narrow, low-risk game. And they're going to look for penalties. They're going to take it. They don't really care if they win this series by 1 point. And that's a real psychological change for the All Blacks. This is the first time they're under real pressure. We saw the media turned on them, which has been the first time in God knows how long. And how these players deal with that kind of pressure is going to be pretty interesting. But Russell's right. If the Lions, if they don't use their bench, Michael Vunipola was absolutely shattered when he got yellow carded. He had 3 penalties in the bag at that stage. Gatland has to be able to get his players, look at them, see when the fatigue is getting in, and trust his bench.
Absolutely right. Listen, both of you are going to have a great time watching it. Gordon, thank you very much. Right on this side of the planet. And Russ Hargreaves down in New Zealand as well. It all kicks off at 7 a.m. tomorrow right here on TalkSport. It's live and exclusive, the commentary of the game from about 8:35. Becky, who's in New Zealand, but a Brit, says it's going to be a sports classic. Fortress Eden Park, 15 aside, Hurt World Champions. I'd say the All Blacks by 12 at least. So very much in your camp on that one.
Indeed.
Stephen says if Porky got an OBE, he'd wear it permanently round his neck. He would never have it off.
No, I wouldn't. I'd have it welded to my forehead, to be honest. I'd have it inset into my forehead, like Indian ladies have diamonds in their head. I'd have that sort of thing.
Jerry says, classic Porky bemoans Garcia wearing his jacket as pompous, then says he's thinking of having his own statue made.
Yeah, well, I've been saying that for years, actually.
TalkSport, we are the two mics, and of course the Porky quiz is coming up in about just over 10 minutes' time, and it's going to be filmed live on Facebook. So if you want to watch it as well as listen to it, it's on Wimbledon, of course, because we're right smack in the middle of Wimbledon fortnight.
I've been taking in Wimbledon information for 50 years.
Have you?
So I'm looking for a big score here.
Did you ever cover Wimbledon? I don't think I never actually was sent down there as a journo. I used to go there a lot as a kid, but I never actually covered it.
No, I never covered it. But funny enough, and I hope you can't alter the questions now, I was actually there on the day Cliff Richard sang.
Well, he used to sing every year, but you mean that 1 year when it rained off? When it rained off,
Congratulations.
What a nightmare.
I got bladderated in a champagne tent.
That comes as no surprise.
With a lady from Yorkshire.
A lady from Yorkshire?
Yeah.
Well, did you go with her or you just met her there?
No, I met her there.
Oh, you met her there?
Yeah.
Okay. What was her name?
Well, it doesn't matter, but I saw her subsequently.
Did you?
She was very impressed with me.
Really? That's quite a long time ago, so there may have been some activity that we can't talk about because obviously a family show.
Exactly.
Now, what about this from Stephen? Come on, Porky, who's your mole at Everton? You clearly know what's happening on the inside. That's a question you won't be able to answer.
Well, I can tell you, I do not have a mole at Everton, but I've been an Evertonian since I was born.
Yeah.
And as you grow up and you go to the ground, I mean, for instance, about 3 weeks after Wayne Rooney went to Manchester United, I was having a drink with, as I said to you earlier, with Wayne's dad in the Winslow opposite ground. And you just meet people and you absorb things over the years. I haven't got a mole at Everton. It doesn't work like that, you know. The thing is that Everton's a huge family of people. Wayne Rooney's a huge family of people.
Yeah.
Manchester United is a huge family of people. And I know as many people at Manchester United as I do at Everton.
Yes, indeed. Now, this is a rather unkind tweet, but I've thought about whether I should read it out, and I've decided on the grounds of possibility that I probably should. It's from Gerard. He said, when has Porky ever been cool? The only time he'll be cool is when his dodgy heart stops, and then he will actually be cold.
Oh, well, that's very nice.
That's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a bit harsh.
He even admits he's a bit harsh.
Yeah, it is a bit harsh indeed.
Yeah, not very nice.
Now, something I just want to throw at you now.
Yes?
And it's
what do you want to throw at me?
A twirl.
Oh, Christ.
Right.
Oh, I shouldn't say that, should I? Thank you very much.
Yeah, exactly.
Normally when somebody throws something at me, I don't always react like that. My apologies.
No, believe it or
Thankfully,
not.
I didn't say anything worse.
No, believe it or
Why are you
not.
throwing me chocolate?
Because, believe it or not, it's National Chocolate Day.
National Chocolate
Yeah,
Day?
it is National Chocolate Day.
Well, wasn't it National Flying Ant Week or something the other day?
No, it's horrible, though. The ants are all over the place because...
That's very kind of you. Although I'm going out for an Indian meal later.
Are you?
So I'm not going to eat it now.
Okay.
One of our chums is arriving.
Well, here, have this.
Have you forgotten?
Yeah. What's that, Milky Way?
That's a Milky Way. So I've now got a 12 and a Milky Way. That's great.
Mars bar Kit Kat.
Yeah. I might save it for later. Well, I don't know if I should eat it later because you can't really eat chocolate after you've had a curry, can you?
Not really, no. You could probably eat it before. But the reason...
You've forgotten, haven't you, who's coming in? Mark Donaldson's coming in.
Mark Donaldson's coming in. He's a great guy.
He is.
He's going to join us in the studio before we
I
finish
don't
the
think
show.
he's going to get... Well, because the Murray... He's covering Wimbledon, right? So the Murray game ran a little bit late. So I think he might just meet us in a hostelry of our choice.
Okay. Well, yeah, that'll be all right.
If you've got any time to spare,
well,
obviously,
exactly.
in
But
your
I'm a
busy
very
schedule.
busy man. And, of course, we're back here tomorrow, aren't we, at midday?
Well, we'll be back here right after. There's a slightly extended morning show because of the Lions' final test. We're back at midday, as you say. We're also doing the warm-up on Sunday as well, by the way.
We are doing the warm-up
to keep people up to speed.
Now, how much chocolate do you allow your children to eat?
Well, they're quite sneaky as it happens,
right?
Because there's always kind of chocolate to some extent in mine. I was as for Father's Day, right? They played this what they thought was a great wheeze on me, right? Because I came down after they made me breakfast, which was very nice. I came downstairs and there was a big brown cardboard box in the middle of the table, the kitchen table. And they said, Happy Father's Day. And I went, oh, that's nice. I wonder what they bought me. You know, it could be big enough. Wasn't big enough for wine, but it could be big enough for a nice gift, you know.
Right.
Opened it up. It was one of those, loads of bits of paper, loads of boxes. And in the end, it was a large bar of fruit and nut chocolate.
Right, okay.
Which
And that was
nice.
it?
That was it, yeah.
Right, okay. Well, give them that then.
So hang on. We just stop throwing chocolate over you. Don't throw Kit Kat at me. So then, I had a couple of pieces of it, right? And I put it in the fridge and I said, look, I'm going to be back in a few days.
Yep.
Please don't eat all my chocolate.
Yes.
I came back last weekend after we'd finished doing a very busy, rotation.
All gone?
And not only was it all gone,
Yeah.
but they left the wrapper in the place where in the drawer in the fridge.
I see. There's nothing in it.
With nothing in it.
Right, okay.
So I got very excited one night. Went to get myself some fruit and nut, and it wasn't there.
Well, I feel so sorry for you.
They sneak chocolate, is what they do.
I feel so sorry for you. Here's one of these.
Oh, right, a Mars
Hey,
bar.
there
This
you
is
go.
great.
Okay.
This is a bit like the selection box you bought around Christmas time. This
There
is
you go.
terrific.
Now,
I'm going to really look forward to
we'll
eating
take
all
them
this
home
chocolate.
because it's
Thank
National
you.
Chocolate Day. I thought I'd bring some in.
It's very decent of you.
Now then,
I haven't got any for you, I'm afraid.
No, don't worry about that. Now,
No,
I still
I'm
do
not
my
worried.
journals all the time, and
Yeah.
I come across these fantastic surveys,
Yes.
okay? And I've come across one of those 50 things that transformed our lives.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's a book by, a very senior economist. They've come to the conclusion that, because everybody's got a view on it, penicillin,
yes,
the internal combustion engine.
Uh-huh.
In fact, it was the plough. Because without the plough, we'd never have been able to,
the plough, I suppose,
sow
yes.
crops. That's
Yeah.
it. The second most important one, this is in a huge survey, it's taken place across the world,
Yeah.
the S-bend.
The S-bend, what you mean in the sink?
Well, I mean, the S-bend in bathrooms.
Yes.
Because unless you had an S-bend, you wouldn't be able to get water to flush through anything. You know what I mean? An S-bend is in every bit of plumbing.
What, as opposed to a U-bend, I suppose?
Well, the S-bend is the U-bend. You know, it goes up, goes down, goes up again, so to speak.
Yeah,
so it's the U-bend.
Okay.
But let me just mention a few of these and see how important these were to you. 50 things that transformed our lives. So the plough, I've told you the first one. How important to you as a child was the gramophone? That's the second most important.
Yes. Gramophone was very important.
Did you have a gramophone rather than a record player?
We had something made by, I think it was the Grange G-Plan sort of thing. It was what was called a radiogram.
Yeah, we had one of those. We had those.
It was on.
It's a huge piece of furniture.
Massive piece of furniture. It was on two sort of V-shaped legs.
And a lid that lifted.
It had a lid that lifted up,
yeah.
Where you could find the turntable bit.
Yeah.
Then it had a bit on the front, which was the radio.
Yeah.
And you had a few knobs and things. And then the two speakers were built into the side.
Right.
And eventually, I seem to remember, as we got a bit older, and my parents got a proper music centre,
we
took the legs off this thing,
yes.
and put it in my sister's bedroom. We used to play records on it, on the floor, which made it sound slightly better.
Yeah, sure.
Because the sound was pretty awful.
Sure. The next one's the light bulb. Since early man collected...
The light bulb?
Yeah. No, it transformed everybody's life. If you could work in the dark, I mean, blimey. Since early man collected firewood to illuminate his cave, history has been a long search for better light sources. Thousands of years ago, candles were invented in Egypt and Crete, and oil lamps in Babylon.
Yes.
The light they provided was steadier and more controllable. Then something changed. It was the light bulb. By 1900, for the money you would earn in a week of hard labour, one of Thomas Edison's carbon filament bulbs offered 10 days of continuous illumination.
Really?
100 times brighter than a candle. But it cost you a week's wages to buy a light bulb.
Well, when you were describing the lights in your house this week on one of the podcasts, the arc lights that you were describing, people were quite fascinated by that and thought that you sounded like you had way too many lights compared to how many you would actually need.
That's right, in case I was growing cannabis plants.
Well, I mean, we didn't want to get into that.
That's what somebody said.
No, they did.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing I wanted to bring to you was a series of tweets that I received over the last 12 hours or so.
Oh, yeah, what's
Remember how I was saying to you that Gosport seems to be becoming the sort of, the crime capital of Britain?
Yeah.
I've got this from somebody who sent it in. Residents have been warned to remain vigilant after a series of crimes in Gosport.
No.
Basically, people have been advised to be alert after cars and gardens have been broken into. 16 vehicle-related crimes have been reported in the last 4 weeks, and men have been seen intruding in gardens.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you haven't got one, but I'm just telling you this.
We've got grounds. We've got grounds.
Items were stolen from 4 unlocked cars last weekend. Men have been seen in the Elson and Hardway area of the town.
Yeah.
Going into people's gardens.
Well, they'll be after them. The Hardway area, by the way, is redeveloped land where the munitions factories used to be. So they are sort of new builds and all that kind of stuff. Now, I live in what you would call a, what do you call them? There's gates, like a gated community. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And we don't have ruffians or people like that in there. You know what I mean? So that's
well, just be careful.
Yeah,
because there seems to have been a bit of an uprise in the number of incidents.
Yeah. One other thing of the 50 things that transformed our lives.
Yeah.
Tradable debt.
Tradable debt?
And it started with tally sticks. Loans were once recorded on willow tally sticks cut in two. The creditor kept the base or the stock, that's where the word stock came from, of the stick. And it was the beginnings of the stock market.
Stock of the stick?
Yeah, the stock of the stick.
It's not easy to
stock
kind
of the stick is the thicker part. It's all fascinating stuff.
It is.
But you see, if I didn't read my journals, none of this
would ever come
to
We're
life.
almost out of time, because we've got to do the Porky quiz.
Yeah.
We've got to talk about a couple of other things as well.
We've got to sum the show
Sports
up.
Bar coming up. Andy Goldstein, of course, and Darren Lewis as well.
Yeah.
We'll be talking to them at some point. This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Very, very shortly, it will be time for the Andy Goldstein Sports Bar coming up with Darren Lewis. We'll be talking to him in a little while.
Right.
We'll tell him all about those great stories you broke, of course, which
Yes.
I'll no doubt be following up. I can tell you that this is time now for the Porky quiz.
Yes.
And we are on Facebook Live. So if you want to watch it, as well as actually
Have you
listen
put
to
out
it.
the code there
This
for
is
people
the time
to watch
do
us?
it. I'm about to put out the code.
Right, okay.
It will be out on Two Mics Twitter account, which is at the Two Mics.
Yep.
And it will say, if you want to watch it, here's where the link is. I'm just doing that now. Now, obviously, the independent quizmaster has been very, very busy doing the questions. I haven't seen the questions
busy,
yet.
with two sets of questions. You would get busy, wouldn't you?
Only one set of questions. I'm going to ask Jamie from the production department to bring me the envelope which contains the 10 questions, which, of course, are in a sealed envelope. Never been seen by anybody in this studio. Jamie, thank you very much indeed. Very nice shorts, by the way. He's very well dressed for the summer, isn't he? Very well dressed for the summer.
Rather chic.
Chic, yes. Yeah. Now, here we are. This is the sheet of questions.
Okay.
I know you've been studying the Wimbledon scenario.
Since Monday.
So let me just put out this link. So there it is, the link. If you want to watch it, you go to the Two Mics and there's a link there to the Facebook page of the Two Mics. Now, as per usual...
I'm going to put this out as well.
Yeah, please do. In the meantime, if you get one correct, you will hear this sound.
Right.
Have you ever seen anything like it?
And if you get one incorrect, more than likely you'll hear this sound.
Yeah.
You cannot be serious!
Oh, I love that.
You like that?
I love John McEnroe.
Excellent.
One of my favourite men.
Who knows if there's any questions about John McEnroe, but are you ready for question number one?
Yeah, I'm just going to put this link out. Excuse me. I don't want to be accused in any way of, accessing my information machine.
Yeah.
Where is it? Here we go. Is this on the Two Mics, is it?
It's on the Two Mics, yes.
Okay. Is it fairly near the top? Or
well, it's right at the top, yeah.
Yeah, you sure?
You should be able to find it straight away.
Right, okay. Let me have a look here. Here's Two Mics. Oh, here we go. Two Mics Facebook. Is this the one?
That's it.
That's it. 41 seconds ago. Right. Okay. Okay, everybody. You can access it on mine as well now.
So everybody's ready. Okay, right. Are you ready for question number one?
Let's go.
Question number one. Who are the current mixed doubles champions? I.e. the ones who won it last year.
Yes. The current mixed doubles. Yes.
Yeah, that would be two people we're looking for.
I believe one of the Williams sisters is involved, okay?
Well, I can't give you any hints, obviously.
I think that's probably Serena.
I can't help you.
And the other guy...
Yes?
Is...
Well, you got the sex right, at least.
Hang on. Is Andy Murray's brother.
Andy Murray's brother?
Yeah.
And Serena Williams. Is that your final answer?
Sorry, I'm not going to take this sort of behaviour
from you.
Well,
is that your final answer?
Yes.
Incorrect.
You cannot be serious!
It is Henri Continen, who is from Finland,
and
Heather Watson, who's one of our own great British tennis players.
I thought she was the women's doubles champion.
No, she's the current mixed doubles champion. Okay. Question number two. When was the All England Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club founded?
Founded?
Yeah.
Do you mean when the first competition took place or founded?
I mean, when was the club founded? It was actually founded as the Croquet Club, but it was later changed. But that's the date I'm looking for.
The first Wimbledon men's singles tournament, which is what it was first, was 1877. And that came 9 years after it was founded in 1868.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Have you ever seen anything like it?
I'm going to be generous with you as well. I'm going to be generous with you because I could have said I need the exact date.
Yeah, it was July, I think.
It was July.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
How do you know that?
Because I do.
That's unbelievable. Right. Yeah. Now, going back to 1877, the inaugural championship was indeed held in 1877.
Yes.
Who won it?
A bloke called Renshaw.
Any first name?
Well, you don't need a first name because he was known.
Well, it's not like he was Madonna.
No, he was known as Rennie.
Like Prince.
No, but he was Renshaw.
Okay.
And he went on to win 7 and is now in the record books as the joint of 3. He's one of the joint 3 who's won the most Wimbledon titles.
Okay. So you're going with Renshaw.
Renshaw.
Incorrect.
No.
You cannot be serious.
It's Spencer Gore.
Spencer Gore.
Yeah, I'm afraid Mr. Renshaw wasn't until later. What is this year's prize money for winners?
Prize money for winners?
Yeah.
On each side?
If you win it, what do you get?
You get the prize money. It's the same for men and women.
It's all the same.
And the cheque handed over, which is traditional, is £2.2 million.
Correct.
Have you ever seen anything like it?
That's not bad. 2 out of 4, 50% so far. Question number 5. Yes. Roger Federer shares the record for most consecutive wins with one other player.
Yeah.
Who is it?
Well, thinking back to my youth and the hero, it would have to be Bjorn Borg.
That is correct.
Yay!
It's actually pronounced Bjorn Borg.
Yeah, 5 on the run and only stopped by McEnroe.
Yes, indeed. Question number 6. Who was the lowest ranked winner ever?
The lowest ranked winner ever?
Yes.
I don't think he was even seeded, and it was Goran Ivanisevic.
Pardon?
Goran Ivanisevic. What's your problem?
No, you got it absolutely right. I just want to hear the name.
Thank you. Yeah, Goran Ivanisevic.
Have another Ivanisevic. It's actually Goran Ivanisevic.
Thank you.
I'll give you that.
See anything like it?
Yeah, that's not bad.
Do you know he ended up doing? I think I wasn't sure before or after he won. I think it was after. He ended up doing his national service in the Bosnian War.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was incredible. Yeah.
He didn't wear his green jacket. For
yeah.
that.
How many have I got right so far?
You've now got 4.
Woo-hoo!
So you've already outranked my suggestion. You might get 3.
Yeah.
Question number 7.
4 out of how many?
4 out of 6.
Oh,
2/3 of your questions have been right.
66%.
Yeah, it's a bit like your heart, except in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Which 2 players fought out the longest ever final?
Longest ever final?
Years.
Now, I'm tempted to say McEnroe and Borg. Thinking aloud. I'm tempted to say Jimmy Connors and McEnroe. I'm tempted to say Passarella in one of the first...
there's a name from the past.
One of the first ever professional games, because, of course, it changed over from amateur, didn't it? You know, in the 70s, Roy Emerson was the greatest amateur player there. I'm thinking aloud here, aloud. But
okay.
the longest... Sorry, what did you say again?
The question is,
Yeah.
which 2 players fought out the longest ever final?
Longest ever final was between... what's the name of that...
I can't give you an answer.
No, I'm not asking
I'm
for an
asking
answer.
the questions.
What's the name of the player whose golf club I played at with Ivor in Connecticut? You know,
Ivan Lendl.
Lendl. I think Lendl's involved in this. Ivan Lendl.
I shouldn't really have told you that, because I'm not supposed to give you any help.
I think the longest ever was, without doubt, it was...
Without doubt. I'll have to hurry you.
It was Borg and McEnroe.
Incorrect.
No.
It was, in fact,
be serious!
Roger Federer and Andy Roddick in 2009.
Was it?
77 games.
Yeah, Roddick was a bit of a sort of non-name, wasn't
Well,
he?
I mean,
that's why it didn't
he
come
was
to
very
the
successful,
forefront
though.
of my head.
Question number 8. What is the Wimbledon effect?
What?
What is the Wimbledon effect?
The Wimbledon effect? Well, is that some sort of menu or something in a Wimbledon restaurant?
I'm asking you what it is, so you give me an answer.
Effect?
Yeah. You have to give me the answer.
The Wimbledon effect?
What is the Wimbledon effect? It's a pretty straightforward question.
Pretty stupid question. Because
I don't write the questions.
Right, I would say... Is this a tennis term?
I can't tell you that.
Well, this is supposed to be about tennis and Wimbledon.
Well, it's about Wimbledon.
I've got an itch in my eye. It's
I can see that.
Me. Yeah.
Well, people can be watching on Facebook and see that. You can also watch on Twitter, by the way.
Yeah.
It's on Facebook Live.
Okay, the Wimbledon effect is, in fact, the angle of the sun. It's the angle of the dangle from the roof of the centre court.
Incorrect.
No.
You cannot be serious!
The Wimbledon effect is, in fact, an analogy used chiefly by the British and the Japanese to describe how the British capital markets work in the same way that the tennis tournament works, because apparently, despite the fact that there are no British tennis players who do very well at Wimbledon, in the same way, there are hardly any British companies that do well in the centre of London, in the city, and so it's the same thing. Do you see what I'm saying?
No. What
you
a
don't
ridiculous
understand
and rubbish question.
That's
What's
a
that
great
got to
question.
do with
That's a
tennis
great
and
question.
Wimbledon?
Well,
that should be banned.
No, it's got exactly
Right,
everything to do. It's got everything to do with Wimbledon.
This quiz is out of 9, not 10. That's a bum question.
Incorrect.
I'm refusing to
The
acknowledge
Wimbledon
that question.
effect is a known thing.
Should we get on with real tennis questions?
Question number 9, a real tennis question. Who were the two co-stars of the 2004 movie Wimbledon?
2000 and what?
4.
2004. What's this got to do with tennis? This is a film. This is
a film about tennis.
This is Hollywood.
Right? It's a film about Wimbledon. It's called Wimbledon. The quiz is about Wimbledon. Therefore, this is a Wimbledon question.
Right. One of them was... Were these former
tennis
tennis
looking
players...
down?
Hang on, former tennis...
Why are you looking down?
I'm not looking
you
down.
You are looking down. People can see that. Can you see that he's looking down?
Are these former...
Can you please look at this pen while you're answering?
Former tennis players turned actors. Is it right?
I'm not saying what they are. All
Right.
I'm saying is who are the two co-stars.
Right. One of them was Vijay Singh.
Look into the
Thinking
light.
aloud. I'm thinking aloud.
Yeah, okay.
One of them was Vijay Singh,
I
who also
need
starred...
two.
Who starred in a James Bond film.
He did, Octopussy.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And the other one was... An actor, you're saying, an actor.
The two co-stars is what I'm asking
Two
for.
co-stars. Well, one of them was Vijay Singh,
Yeah.
and the other one, I believe, was...
You sure you're not thinking of somebody? Anyway, never mind. I can't help you.
The other one, I think, was
Yeah.
a very young Johnny Depp.
Incorrect.
No!
You cannot be serious!
First of all, Vijay Singh is a golfer, right?
Oh, no, sorry.
Vijay Amritraj.
Oh, Vijay, that's him.
Is
That's
the guy
it.
you're thinking of.
That's the guy I meant.
But he wasn't in it either.
And actually, And actually, I thought the other one might have been Vitas Gerolitis.
Vitas Gerolitis, yeah, the coke fiend.
Yeah, that's right.
No, neither one of those people was in it. It was, in fact, Kirsten Dunst and Paul Bettany.
What a load of rubbish.
So that's another one you haven't got right. Now, final question. Can you get 5 out of 10?
Yes.
Who is this year's 12th seed in the men's draw?
12th?
12th.
Why'd you pick on 12th?
It's I don't write the questions.
What a load of rubbish this is.
Why?
You might have asked me who's the 27th seed. What a load of nonsense.
I don't think they have 27 seeds, do they? So they have 24.
24, is it? Right, in that case, it's...
It's quite a well-known 12th seed in the men's
quite a well-known
side
player.
of the draw. Yeah, of course he is.
Right, I tell you who it is.
Go on.
Because he's fallen from grace.
Has he?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it's the American guy.
The American guy?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
No, that narrows it down.
Yeah, sure, yeah. I think it might be... Oh, no, I know who it is. It's Djokovic.
Incorrect.
No!
You cannot be serious! He's seeded number 2.
Oh, is he? I thought he dropped down a bit.
No, it's Joe Wilfred Tsonga. Funnily enough,
Okay.
he always does quite well. But
Is he
that's
the French guy?
He's the French guy, yeah,
With the hair.
the sort of goatee and the rather flammable personality.
Oh.
So you got 4 out of
4,
10.
that's all right.
Which is more than I said you'd
No,
get.
I got 4 out of 8, actually.
No.
Because 2 of the questions were rubbish.
Yeah, but they were still about Wimbledon.
Oh, that was brilliant.
I thought you did well.
I did well.
That was the Porky quiz. There will be another one, of course, at same time, possibly same time next week, sometime next week, probably. This is TalkSport. This is TalkSport. We are the 2 mics. Of course, that was the Porky quiz. I thought you did rather well, actually, considering.
I did,
that,
considering
there's been
2
a
of the
lot going on.
questions were not relevant.
Well, again, I can't tell you how much I could. I wish that I did set the questions. I wish that I could help you there, but I don't set the questions. The independent quizmasters do. But what I can say is that Josh has sent us in a lovely picture of his daughter, Savannah, who is 1. How about that for a smile that will cheer up the rest of your day?
Beautiful picture.
Isn't that a beautiful picture?
Beautiful little girl.
Of little Savannah, who's 1 year old today, apparently, and he says she's already a 2 mics fan.
Oh, that's lovely.
And
Well,
that's a
Savannah,
picture of her today.
I want you to have a great, great life ahead of you, my dear. You're a beautiful little girl, and your parents are very proud of you.
Yes. Now, how about this from Jamie? He says, VJ singing Johnny Depp, I'm crying. What a plank.
Well, no, come on. I have a lot going on in my head today. And I haven't been able to pull it all together.
I'll give you some assistance here from Daniel. Daniel says the quiz was totally gerrymandered when Porky got off to a flyer.
Yeah, exactly. It always is.
That's not true.
At one stage, I had a 66% hit rate on the quiz, and then all of a sudden, stupid questions like this one. Thank you to Ian, our correspondent. What a ridiculous question about the Wimbledon effect. 5 out of 9, Porky. Gerrymandering personified.
How about Martin?
People can find it.
Hang on. Martin says Porky's got an itch on his eye disguising his reading of the answers.
Rubbish.
There certainly was. If you wish to go back onto the Facebook page, Facebook Live, or onto our Twitter where there's a link, you can re-watch the Porky quiz and see for yourself whether Porky's eyes are moving towards the papers in front of him.
No. JPK, who is a correspondent, says, what a wanton question about the Wimbledon effect. Gerrymandering. Poor old Porky was on 66%.
I'm surprised a man of his education hasn't heard of the Wimbledon effect, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm quite shocked about that.
Yeah.
Now, we should tell people, because this has been quite a show.
It has.
From the get-go. You have been really trailing a blaze, or blazing a trail, I should say, with the news, first of all, that Wayne Rooney and Everton have done the deal.
That's right.
Which has now been confirmed, basically, by Manchester United, who have agreed to let him go for free, which surprises me. We don't yet know quite what all the
we don't know
ins
the
and
details,
outs of the financial details are.
As I said to you when I was telling you, and I was talking to people about it, it was a brilliant quote.
Yeah.
I said, and what about, and they said, well, they've both got a few bob, you know.
Yeah.
And I believe that when Wayne Rooney pledged himself to Everton after he through his agent, was approached to see whether he wanted to go, literally said, I don't care. He didn't care about the contract. He wanted to go back to Everton and play football.
Yeah.
Money was the last of his worries, and I don't think they've even sat down now and discussed the financial terms of the deal. What they've done is they've established that Wayne Rooney wants to go to Everton, and Ronald Koeman very much wants him.
Yeah.
And as I said earlier in the show, if Ronald Koeman doesn't sign any more players, Wayne Rooney could well be in the starting lineup for Everton versus Stoke when the new season starts.
Well, I mean, from what you said, that's exactly what both of their plans are. Wayne Rooney is not joined to be a squad player. Neither has Koeman hired him to be a squad player. He wants him in the starting lineup. However, is there not an issue now with the amount of money that he's going to need to be paid? And I know that he may take a pay cut.
No, I don't think there is.
He may take a pay cut, but how much will Everton be able to stump up to pay him? I guess is my question.
I don't know anything about the effects of the contract. Nobody will except his agent and Wayne Rooney himself. All I know is that the aspirations of Wayne Rooney to go back and play football for Everton have been matched by Everton, and Everton, I think, were pleasantly surprised about what it was going to cost to have Wayne Rooney back on the staff. They're not taking Wayne Rooney as the last 2 years of his career. They're taking Wayne Rooney as one of the most decorated and established England footballers in this country who's going to form an essential part of Everton's plan next season to make a huge impression on the Premier League.
And is it possible that Manchester United will still have something to say about paying part of his wages while this deal is done or not? Has he now left the building, as it were?
I don't think so. I can't say definitely, but I think it's a straight cut of Wayne Rooney leaving Manchester United. I believe he's leaving on a free transfer. He's going.
Yes.
And I think a bit like a divorce, sometimes you say, look, that's it. That's
United will save a great deal of money by him not being there.
£30 million. He's got 2 years left on a contract of £50 million a year. But I believe a bit like a divorce, it's said that this is final, full in payment. You can't come back and take anything else.
Yes.
I think he wants his ties to Manchester United to be completely severed so that when he walks out on the first day of the season, starting for Everton again with an Everton shirt on, all that's going on in his head is, I am an Everton player.
Yeah.
And I don't think he wants
We broke this story at the start of the show. We were approximately 45 to 50 minutes ahead of everybody else. In addition to that, the next story that we broke in the second hour of the show was that the door was very much still open at Everton for an offer to come in from Chelsea. Because
Lukaku.
Because what you believed was that Everton were not yet really in a position to accept 75 million as an offer from Man United. Now, woe betide the rest of the media, but it turns out that Chelsea have now made that offer. They've matched Manchester United's offer of around 75 million. Maybe they've gone slightly over it.
I think it'll go up. Honestly, I think it'll go up.
He's going to become the most expensive player in the Premier League, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
By virtue of beating Pogba by several million.
Yes, that's right, The red herring was that he went to America and he was with Pogba before Manchester United arrived. They were just on holiday, but there was a bit of talk earlier in the week that, Everton are now fed up he didn't turn up for training pre-season. He never was. They said, don't. We know you're going. It's just a question of where you go. And it's not an issue. It's better that you get out of the way and we'll sort out the business. But Everton would not finalise a deal with Manchester United, 75 million, because they do believe there is a will for another club, and that club is Chelsea, to snatch Lukaku for themselves.
Yes, and immediately that we, of course, talked about all this, we heard from quite a lot of Everton fans who said we're very, very happy, we're thrilled that Wayne Rooney's coming back. One or two who said we're actually not happy about that at all, we think that he might be over the hill. Some Chelsea fans say they're very happy not to get Lukaku because they think that he's not the player that they really need. However, Antonio Conte wants him.
Manchester United, much so. He wants him very much.
Manchester United fans seem to want Lukaku as well. So, I mean, I suppose from Everton's point of view, once all the dust settles, they get Wayne Rooney for free. They collect somewhere near, 80-odd million for Lukaku.
I think you're right.
It's a pretty good day's work, isn't it?
I think it's a good day's work. And also, I think Mr. Abramovich, who is the owner of Chelsea and has run the club, immaculately since the day he walked in there, he keeps winning things with different managers. I think he's very much in favour of bringing Lukaku to Chelsea, to Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, so we shall see. Obviously, the stories are going to still be developing, and there's a long way to go in the transfer window. However, certainly the Rooney deal seems to have been done. Glyn says this, although last night, 20 hours ago, they were still saying Lukaku and Rooney could be staying put. Easy to get it right when you change daily. I'm not quite sure what he means by that.
You don't realise how fluent the football scene is at the moment. Right in the middle of the transfer window. You don't get a rest in 24 hours, Mike, because some of these agents, are multinational, and some of these agents are ringing clubs in this country from places like the Philippines, from places like America, the West Coast and South America. And it's non-stop. It's relentless. It's driven, it's driven chairmen and managers and chief executives to, extreme situations.
Yeah.
They get very, very fraught. It's a very long transfer window. It's 2 months, and it really wears people down.
And also, it kind of starts before July the 1st
anyway,
because so many people have
does.
done
All the
loads of deals.
speculation.
Now, this is one that you'll enjoy from Nigel. He says, I'm sober and I listen to all your shows. You are both really funny. Keep up the good work.
No, hang on. I'm I'm a serious broadcaster.
Yeah, you are a serious broadcaster. Also, not recommended to listen to it sober.
Yeah, exactly.
Just having some bladder in moderation at the rubbing house at Epsom, says James.
Well,
great views of the racecourse.
It's one of my favourite
Isn't that one of your
restaurants.
hangouts?
One of my favourite restaurants. It's beautiful, and sometimes I go down there, actually, in the early morning mist in autumn, and as the mist is coming up off Epsom Downs, you see the string
Are you
of
sure
horses.
that's not the words of a song?
Well, it is, yeah.
It's a MASH song, isn't it?
In the early
I wouldn't want you to
morning
sing it.
mist
We've gone so far without you singing.
And I just park in the car park of the rubbing house, and you see the strings of horses coming down and trotting out.
Do they not move you on if you
Epsom
just park
course.
there?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Don't expect you to go in and actually spend some money.
Well, it's usually 5:30 in the morning, so
right.
you can't really, can you?
Oh, they don't have any security or anything.
No, well, they sort of are security, but I mean, I'm not doing
If
any
I saw
harm.
somebody creeping about in a car at 5:30 in the morning, I think I'd be tempted to chuck them out.
No. I mean, my walking aspirations used to stretch to me walking over there and watching the horses come out. But unfortunately, since you haven't asked about the sciatica, by the way.
No, well, I assume you haven't mentioned it, so I thought it had gone away. How is it?
It hasn't gone away. These things don't go away.
I've seen you moving with relative ease.
Relative ease, but
since I've seen you today.
Relative ease doesn't mean there's not pain in the background.
Oh, really?
I just have
You're still fighting the pain.
Still fighting the pain, man, and have to work hard.
Well, I'll take you away for some mild libation, which may sort of have an anaesthetic effect on you, if you like.
No, I'm not sure about that. We've got another show tomorrow. There's work to do. There's journals to be read. There's information to be found.
Yeah, but we've got a slightly later start tomorrow.
Slightly later, 12 till 2, isn't it?
12 till 2.
Yeah.
So, you don't have to be here till about sort of 10:30-ish, I would say. So that would be all right, wouldn't it?
Yes, it'd be all right.
How about this from Becky, who says, she's talking about the remake of that movie. She says, Porky got 4-0 Love Up and MG through in some unreturnable serves.
Exactly.
Oh, 40 Love Up, sorry.
Yeah,
I read that wrong. It says, you can find the remake of Wimbledon featuring Vijay Singh and Johnny Depp on Netflix. Terrible last 4 questions from Porky.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Go and have a look for it.
Shocking.
Anyway, we have been the Two Mics. It's the Andy Goldstein Sports Bar coming up next with Andy Goldstein and Darren Lewis. They'll be following up on all the news that Everton were giving out, all the stuff that we broke earlier, I'm sure, and of course telling you what's in the papers tomorrow. This is TalkSport.